Woodward Sports? Love wearing clothes? Then you should be wearing Woodward Sports clothes. Check out our full line of merch at woodwardsports.com. Just click on shop. We have all your favorite designs, like Dan Campbell kneecaps, Woodward golf, and of course, our own logoed out merchandise. Men, women, infants, kids all love Woodward Sports. Impress your friends. Impress your boss. Impress your dog. Buy Woodward Sports merch today.
Welcome, everybody, to the Morning Woodward Show here on the Woodward Sports Network. I'm Jeff Iafrate. Joining me alongside, as always, Sam Flannel. We got JB, we got Lucas Klotz. Gabby is down at Allen Park once again. We'll be checking in on her later in the show. We'll do the old V-Mix call. We'll see what's going on in Allen Park. I think Ben Johnson is speaking to the media pretty shortly. I think he speaks actually right now as we're doing the show. So we'll get all those updates and more from Gabby when she joins. But we got a packed show for you guys today, as always. A lot of Lions. We're going to get to the Jim Harbaugh stuff later in the show. We'll get Sam's opinion on that. I can't wait to hear it. Also, we're going to speak a little bit about, some of the things that, at least Noah, one of the guys who works for us, has been capturing at training camp. We got a lot of good content from training camp. We're going to play a lot of that and much more. Speaking of that content from training camp, Amon-Ra St. Brown, right on cue yesterday. We talked about him. Man went out and dominated yesterday.
Yeah, he did.
Dominated.
Look at that.
There's Jerry Jacobs. Look at toe tap on Cam Sutton.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it was reported he had 6 red zone touchdowns in 10 plays. He was easily the best player on the field today. And look at that. 6 touchdowns within 10 red zone snaps with the first team's offense. After practice, Brown went to the jugs machine and dropped his first ball. Brown then proceeded to catch the next 201 balls in a row and did 20 push-ups to make up for the drop. And to think there were 16 wide receivers taken ahead of him. Maybe the biggest steal in the entire 2021 NFL draft.
Damn.
Think about this for a second, too. And do you have the video? Do you have the one that Noah took, him talking about Kobe?
I'll grab it for you.
Okay, grab that because it kind of ties into this man's mentality. I mean, we talk about how talented Amon-Ra St. Brown is, but to the point I made yesterday, Sam, it's even more dangerous when you're just as talented, but you have a supreme work ethic. Like when those two things are combined, opposing DBs are in trouble.
Yeah, it just confirms what I said yesterday, that I've never seen a Detroit Lion in my lifetime that has gotten more out of their talent than Amon-Ra St. Brown has. And the man is talented, and he's going to show an even more diverse skill set this year, running a more complete route tree, running a route tree with more down the field routes.
Yep.
There it is, Flannel.
Yes,
I was having what was the word I was having trouble with yesterday? Like contribution or
contribution.
something? Yeah,
I think I had trouble with
couldn't say
pass
that
rush
shit.
specialist as well. But yeah, 120, 1,410. That season is loading for Amon-Ra St. Brown this year. Second team All-Pro season loading, and all of that just is confirmation of what I already know. Amon-Ra St. Brown is a dog, top 10 wide receiver in the NFL. And this time next year, we might be talking about Amon-Ra St. Brown as at the absolute worst, a top 5 to 7 wide receiver in the NFL. I know the wide receiver position is pretty deep, but Amon-Ra St. Brown is one of the people that makes it deep, if you know what I'm saying.
Oh,
I got the video though if you want.
All right, cue it up. Let's hear it. This is Amon-Ra St. Brown speaking to the media yesterday.
My favorite player of all time is Kobe. That was my guy growing up, Mamba mentality. I lived out in Orange County, but my aunt was a huge Laker fan. So when I was young, that's what I watched was Lakers. And watching Kobe work, just the way he went about his game is something that I always wanted to be like. I always wanted to be like Kobe. His mentality.
I mean, it makes sense. A guy with that type of work ethic to love Kobe. He obviously grew up in California, went to USC. Obviously, he talked about it, being a Lakers fan, being a fan of Kobe. And when you hear the stories, you hear Amon-Ra St. Brown noting every wide receiver taken ahead of him. You hear the stories about how he catches one more football after practice than the kid he originally took the idea from, catching 200 balls after practice. He catches one more, just to say he does extra work. And when he does drop balls, he does do 20 push-ups a drop. Whatever. This guy's he's a beast. He's unbelievable. It was nice to see him dominate in training camp. And again, it is training camp, so we have to wait till the season. But to see him taking these steps as we expect, and I think he'll have 1,400 yards this season, maybe good enough for an All-Pro. He's right there. So to see things like this, it is reassuring. But you know what else is reassuring? When Sam Laporte is jumping out the gym.
Oh,
This
yeah.
man-
Let's get this queued up right now. This man.
40-inch vertical? Like, look at this.
Look at Will Harris. Just like,
Look
what
at
is
this
going
man.
on here? Will Harris doesn't know what he's seeing. Alex Anzalone doesn't know what's happening behind.
No, he doesn't.
Pause. But this man, he's not no average tight end. Let me tell you. This man, former wide receiver. Let me tell you, at 940, we got his high school highlights
geez.
coming up, and he was playing receiver. And this man was cooking. Sam Laporta, he is not your average tight end. He's going to change the way the tight ends are not only drafted, in my opinion. I think after this, people are going to be like, yeah, we're going to stop taking our tight ends in the first round completely because Sam Laporta is a second-round pick, and they're going to change the way that they use him. This man is going to change the way of tight ends, baby.
And Tim Twentyman just tweeted out, offensive coordinator Ben Johnson said rookie tight end Sam Laporta is in a really good spot for a first-year tight end and has earned the right early in camp to be in the first team huddle. Like, we knew he was, far better than any other tight end that the Lions had, but for him to make this type of progress this early in training camp, it kind of picked up where he left off from minicamp. Because I remember in minicamp, there was a lot of mistakes that Sam Laporta was making, but as expected, there's a learning curve, especially for tight ends. But to see him already with the first team on offense, Sam Laporta doing things like that, he's a dog.
I mean, I know this is...
Is he a Hall of Famer, though? I don't know.
I would say they're dusting off the jacket already. They're getting it pre-made. Everything's
okay.
aligning to what I've been saying. It's already.
Oh, say like.
All right, Lucas, call me impressed. I am impressed. That is a very... he looks like... look at that. He looks like a wide receiver out there. Look at that vertical leap. You can't deny it. He's got all of the athletic tools.
White guys can jump.
Well, Sam Laporta can certainly jump, and of course he has a great first name, if I do say so myself. And this doesn't even take into account what he can do after the catch, and his ability to high point the football. I think that is something that is a little bit underrated and has been undervalued,
especially at the tight end position.
Yes.
100%.
At 6'3",
yeah,
too.
the only tight ends Gronk was one that could consistently would high point a football. Tony Gonzalez, but it's always those bigger body guys, the athletic guys like Kyle Pitts. He's not going to be a high point any ball, and especially he's not Kyle Pitts isn't Sam Laporta's size, so it's just a different breed of guy.
Yeah, but even those three tight ends you named are all 6'4", 6'5", 6'6".
Mm-hmm.
Sam Laporta's 6'3". He's doing these things. Yeah.
And here's the thing, and I don't want to kind of slow this down a little bit, but the fact that he's getting reps ahead of Brock Wright, Shane Zylstra, and James Mitchell isn't the most impressive thing in the world, but you expect a guy like Sam Laporta to come in very early on in training camp and just prove no, these guys are my sidekicks. I am tight end number one. And that's what we expected from him, because the reality is that as much as the tight ends performed admirably at the end of the year last year, it was definitely the wall of mid. And I would argue for a guy like Shane Zylstra, absolutely worse than mid. So having a tight end number one, somebody who you hope can have a more productive career in his first 4 seasons than TJ Hawkinson, I think it's a big deal. I think that it can add a wrinkle to this offense. I'm definitely not gonna putting him in the Hall of Fame yet like Lucas, but
I know talent when I see it, Flannel.
You know what, Lucas? You actually do know. You do know ball. The people who say that you do, they are 100% right. And if you actually can first guess Sam Laporta, I will give you all the credit in the world, because I'm not stubborn.
No.
I admit when people know more than me, and you first guessed it with Sam Laporta.
I'm not letting this guy get away with this. Okay.
Jeff can't handle the heat.
No, it's not about the heat.
He's scared about the Lions season.
Yeah,
he's
that's
scared
true.
about Laporta being a Hall of
No.
Famer.
Oh,
Can't handle the heat. Get out the kitchen, son.
Well, I'll tell you this, okay? We all agree that Sam Laporta will be a dog. I think he'll be the best tight end out of this class. For Lucas to get his flowers, this man has to be a Hall of Famer.
Yes.
If he's good, we all agree he'll be good. I think he'll be a great tight end. But Lucas, if he comes out and gets 1,000 yards, then I'm on my knees, Lucas. Pause.
Whoa, okay,
but I'm at least bowing down to your point. Although I don't think the Hall of Famer stuff's hilarious. Sam Laporta, to me, with the yards after catch, what he can do in space, but also you see things like this high pointing the football, like the route running. I'm telling you, Sam Laporta is going to be a dog. So I'm excited for that. Did you see David Montgomery? Do we have that clip as well?
Yeah, I'll get that too.
Yeah, this is David Montgomery. Talking about what team he's excited to play this season, and
it'll be a little sweeter when I play the Bears too, just because I got a bunch of guys over there I love, and we weren't really able to go against each other live, but now it's real deal. So
he was talking about playing the Bears and how he's excited to play the Bears. I think David Montgomery and Sam Flannel, cover your ears. I'm excited for David Montgomery. And I know where you get triggered is when people try and overrate David and say he's this supreme running back, because we would all agree, and I think you would too, he's an upgrade over Jamal, but how much of an upgrade, it really doesn't matter. I'm excited for David Montgomery. I think he's going to tear the Bears up 2 games every season.
Well, this is the season coming to the Lions, coming to a better situation, coming to his first winning situation really as an NFL player. I mean, he played with the Bears from 2019 to 2022. Some pretty lean years for the Chicago Bears, and I would say his career thus far with the Bears has been relatively mid, but he has talent. I mean, Lucas, you mentioned it. He's that guy that gets the between the tackles yards and lets guys like Khalil Herbert and Justin Fields eat, which I think is fair.
He's the sacrificial lamb. That's what he was there.
But this is the time for him to show us, to prove it, to have that season where he actually maybe averages 4.5 yards per carry. That runs behind that offensive line led by Penei Sewell and Frank Ragnow and Taylor Decker and Jonah Jackson and the like, and actually produces like the top level running back that you guys think that he is. Shows it on the field that he is a clear and present upgrade over Jamal Williams. And honestly, the fact that he has a couple of chances against the Bears, and if you're David Montgomery, you probably think playing on the Bears has hampered your career. Why not play them twice this year and just wreck them? Especially going up against that defensive line, which is one of their weak points. I mean, he might not get touched until he hits the second level most of the time. So I'm hoping that David Montgomery goes out and just wrecks the Bears, has a couple 100-yard games, or at the very least has games where he carries the ball somewhere in the teens for over 4 yards to carry. I could definitely see that happening.
And Ryan's reactions, shout out to him joining the show. He says, Montgomery was a decent back in Chicago. Now he's behind a great O-line. Yeah, that is facts. Chuck
and
Brewer.
receivers to open the box up. So the linebackers and safeties aren't just going to be focusing on David Montgomery. They're going to be focusing on Amon-Ra St. Brown and Sam Laporte.
And I would argue the best quarterback he's played for.
Oh, 100%.
Played behind. So that'll help too. The passing game will be more respected than it ever was in Chicago.
Absolutely.
No doubt about it. Chuck Brewer says, Sam speaking stats and not the eye test again.
No,
wait a minute.
He literally just spoke the eye test. He literally.
I think Chuck Brewer is just trying to get under my skin a little bit, but it's not going to work. And honestly, you know what? I'll do a little bit of a mea culpa. When it comes to guys like David Montgomery and Denzel Mims, maybe I was a little bit too dismissive. Maybe I did take the, I would say, the more negative approach. But I am choosing this year with this offense, with this team, because I am also drinking the Kool-Aid to at least look at it from a positive point of view, because I don't want to be the guy that rains on people's parades. The reality is we're going to see how it plays out on the field. And if David Montgomery is as good as people think that he is, he will show it in Detroit with an offense that I think is a huge upgrade over the Chicago Bears offense. A guy like Denzel Mims, he will show it playing with his best quarterback he's ever played with, the best coordinator he's ever played with. Prove the point that it was the New York Jets that did you wrong and it wasn't you. I think a couple of those players have an opportunity to do that, and I am going to let it play out on the field before I get too negative again, because I am actually a very, very positive person. I come here with a smile every single day.
That is true.
That's actually very true. You guys can confirm that.
Philip C. says Hutch almost broke his neck last year in Chicago. Yeah, that tackle he made against David Montgomery.
That was insane.
Yeah, that WWE. I mean, JB knows about it. That move he whipped out on David Montgomery on the goal line. There's no doubt in my mind that was brought up when Montgomery joined the Lions. Ooh. So he's on the winning team now. So happy to see Montgomery. Excited to see him against the Bears this season. We'll go to break. When we get back, we're going to talk a little bit about the conversation that Big D Energy had. They were very passionate yesterday about the backup quarterback position. They came after my guy Sam Flannel, and that does not fly on this show. So I'm responding to it. And we're going to talk more about Teddy Bridgewater and get the details straight for Neil Rule and Darren McCarty. But before we do that, I'm going to tell you about our friends over at SMA, because the sports marketing agency helps spread awareness about mental health and substance abuse. Their new podcast, This is the S Word, helps fight the stigma about seeking help. If you or someone you know is struggling, tell them or even yourself to head to thesportsma.com for more information.
Since the dawn of moving people, Chevrolet has led the way. The world of transportation is changing. At Feldman Chevrolet, we are leading the charge forward. With every electric vehicle, every mile traveled, one Feldman at a time. The company that puts more Chevys on Michigan roads, is now the #1 name for Chevy electric vehicles.
We are the network for Detroit by Detroiters. Welcome to the Woodward Sports Network.
Welcome back to the Morning Woodward Show here on the Woodward Sports Network. Jeff Iafrate, Sam Flannel, JB, Lucas Klotz, Alex Westfall. Gabby is down at Allen Park, and we'll be speaking to her very shortly, just as soon as we get her on the platform. But before we do that, I wanted to discuss a little bit about that backup quarterback conversation that, Big D Energy followed up on yesterday. We had a discussion in the morning show. Neil talked about it, Spencer, D-Mac, and they were very passionate about not spending a significant amount of money, which, by the way, I don't either. And me and you agree there. I mean, $8 million for Teddy Bridgewater, no thanks. But if you can get Teddy on somewhat of a friendly deal, I don't think there is an argument that teams that are contending, having a viable backup quarterback that can hold it down for a 3-game stretch, especially when you are looking for home field advantage in the postseason, is significant. Now, when Spencer, and I'm going to bring, don't worry, I got the points to address.
He's got the receipts.
Yeah, when Spencer brought up, well, what about Mahomes? What about Burrow? Well, that's Mahomes and Burrow. Mm-hmm. Like, yeah, when they go down, the season's over. Like, there are the 1 and 2 best quarterbacks in the NFL. But when you have Jared Goff, and this isn't no disrespect, but I would say Jared Goff is a fringe top 10 guy. He's probably top 12, top 13, wherever you want to put him.
10.
Because
fine. 12, 13 would put Kirk and Dak over.
Fine.
We're not doing that.
You know what? Fine. Put him at 10. My point being is that type of quarterback is a little easier to compensate when a guy like a Teddy Bridgewater comes in. But also, to speak on that Mahomes and Burrow point, Chad Henne came in that playoff game. And they needed Chad Henne to at least get a drive to keep them alive in that playoff game. You don't know you need a backup till you need a backup. And I get Neil's point about not spending more money. I don't want to spend significant money on a backup either, but don't tell me that backups, when you need them, don't come in handy, especially when your quarterback's out 2-3 games.
Well, that's the thing that drove me crazy about yesterday on the show. And if you saw me, I was pretty much perplexed. And here's the thing. Neither of us said yesterday $8 million. None of us even mentioned a price. I think I said at the right price, I would take Teddy Bridgewater. Neil's price is $3 million. Obviously, you would take Teddy Bridgewater at $3 million a year. And here's the thing about Teddy Bridgewater, too. I know he was a point of discussion earlier on, but for the last month or two or so, Teddy Bridgewater has been pretty much out of sight, out of mind for me. But Teddy Bridgewater met with the Lions, and when I heard that, I'm like, hell yeah, you bring in Teddy Bridgewater, because, like you said, if you need a quarterback for a couple of games, you don't just want to say, oh, Jared Goff's hurt, might as well just punt the season away, be like Jack Fox. I have never understood that mentality at all, especially when Teddy Bridgewater is out there. And here's the thing that drives me absolutely insane. And I'll be honest, I've done a little bit of a 180 on this, because I used to think this way, but I've gathered more information, I've done more research, and I've determined that backup quarterbacks at a good price are actually very, very important. And I've got many, many examples that I've listed right now of backup quarterbacks coming in and stabilizing seasons. I mean, you look at last year, Cooper Rush. When Dak Prescott went down, Cooper Rush started for 5 games. The Cowboys were 4-1. I'm not saying that Cooper Rush was a world beater or anything like that, but he stabilized the season.
Absolutely.
In 2019, our very own Teddy Bridgewater, when Drew Brees went down, did the New Orleans Saints just punt the season, or did Teddy Bridgewater come in and go 5-0 as a starter and throw 9 touchdowns and 2 interceptions? What about 2019 with the Tennessee Titans? I know Marcus Mariota didn't get hurt, but he was playing terrible. He was 2-4 as a starter and just putting up awful numbers. Ryan Tannehill was the backup after he flamed out in Miami. Comes in, has a 7-3 record as a starter, 22 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, leads the Tennessee Titans to the AFC Championship game where they ultimately lose at Kansas City. What about Nick Foles? I know Nick Foles is often used as the absolute anomaly, but at the same time, he was 2-1 as a starter when he came in. He was phenomenal in the playoffs, especially against Minnesota in the NFC Championship game, and was the Super Bowl MVP. What about Case Keenum, his opponent in the 2017 NFC Championship game? He actually came in for an injured Sam Bradford in the middle of the season. And I know you guys want to poo-poo Sam Bradford, but the season before, he had 20 touchdowns, 5 5 interceptions. Case Keenum comes in, is 11-3 as a starter, 22 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, leads the Minnesota Vikings to the NFC Championship game where they ultimately lose. But wait, there is more. What about in 1998? John Elway goes down for that phenomenal Denver Broncos team led by Terrell Davis, all those Hall of Famers. Bubby Brister comes in. I know you guys have probably never heard of Bubby Brister. He comes in, is 4-0 as a starter, stabilizes the season, throws 10 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. What about Frank Reich in 1992 for the Buffalo Bills? Jim Kelly goes down in the playoffs. Frank Reich leads the Bills to 2 playoff wins, including probably the greatest playoff comeback of all time, that game against the Houston Oilers. What about in 1990, Jeff Hostetler? It wasn't Phil Simms that won the New York Giants their second Super Bowl. It was Jeff Hostetler at quarterback. Yes, 3-0. I believe it was 2-0 as a starter in the regular season, 3-0 as a starter in the playoffs while throwing 3 touchdowns and 0 interceptions, which is exactly what you want a stabilizing backup to do, not turn the football over. What about in 1972? Yes, I got
you
more.
Went all the way
I
back.
got all
Jesus
the numbers.
Christ.
Remember the 19...
Sam?
What about back in the day
Lucas.
when the black and white on the TV showed?
Has anybody ever heard of the 1972 Miami Dolphins, the only undefeated team in NFL history?
Larry Zonka, baby.
Guess who went down that season? Their quarterback, Bob Greasy. So Earl Morrall stepped in, was 9-0 as a starter. Did the Miami Dolphins just say, you know what, we're just going to punt this season? No, they brought in Earl Morrall. He was 9-0 as a starter. And guess what? All you old school Lions fans will remember this. Remember in 1957 when Bobby Lane played that NFL championship game? No, you don't, because it didn't happen, because he actually went down during that season, and none other than Tobin Rote. You guys ever heard of Tobin Rote? I'm sure a lot of you have. 4-1 as a starter in the regular season, 2-0 in the playoffs, including being the quarterback of the championship winning team. So those are 10 examples right there of backups coming in, either stabilizing seasons, or in examples like Nick Foles, Jeff Hostetler, and Tobin Rote, being the quarterbacks of championship winning teams. So don't tell me that if you lose your quarterback, your season's over, you should just punt. We should just all cry in a fetal position. That's the type of stuff that drives me absolutely insane. And I don't get it. And I don't get kind of like the self-righteous attitude about it. Spencer Raxter, I'm very disappointed in you.
Well, the other part, though, that Neil said, and I love Neil, but this comment, though, like, what did he say? That it's a 49ers feel to this offense. The difference is, and trust me, I love what the Lions have piece-wise. I think Sam Laporta, you're excited about. Jahmyr Gibbs, you're excited about. Like, these guys are all exciting. Amon-Ra turning into a superstar right in front of us, if he isn't already. Guys, the 49ers have how many All-Pros? Like
quite a few.
George Kittle, Deebo Samuel, Christian McCaffrey, like Elijah Mitchell isn't no slut. Like, it's very different. So just be careful before you say, well, it's exactly like the 49ers, right? Like, we have all pros at every position. It's not like that yet. So it's not like, by the way, correct me if I'm wrong, didn't the 49ers get rid of Nate Sudfeld?
They did.
So what you're saying is if they felt like Nate Sudfeld could be a viable backup or a viable starter at some point to fill in games, they would have kept him, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So that tells me that they didn't even believe in Nate Sudfeld. And I know he looks good in training camp, but you have to be ready for this. You're a team that will have a higher seed in the NFC. You're a team that will contend for your own division. The last thing I need is Jared Goff keeping us in front of the division. He goes down, and now other teams are sneaking up right behind the Lions because you didn't address the backup quarterback position. Just give him a couple $1 million. It's not that deep. Give him a couple $1 million. Let's roll. Give him a 1-year deal, and let's do this thing. It's really as easy as that. So I get why people don't want to spend significant money. I'm not paying Teddy Bridgewater $8-9 million, but you can't tell me a guy like Teddy Bridgewater, who even last season got a concussion in one of those games. It wasn't a great year for him, but we act like Teddy's been this bum. And 2021 looked good. 2020 he looked good. 2019 he looked good. Relax. I love it. And Dan Campbell even loves it. So
yes.
if you trust Dan Campbell and you think he knows ball, Dan is fighting for Teddy to come back right now to the Lions. He's all for it. So I wanted to address that conversation. I think it'd be a smart move for the Lions if the money's right to have a guy who's better than Nate Sudfeld. It'll give Hendon Hooker a little longer to get healthy, a little longer to learn the NFL and get caught up with this offense. So I'm cool with it. Get Teddy Bridgewater. It's better to have him there than not. I know you don't expect Jared to go down, but I'm telling you, if he does, this fan base is going to go nuts.
Absolutely.
It's like I get it was a different season. They only won 3 games, but that year that Tim Boyle and David Blau were
Don't bring up Tim Boyle, dude. I don't want to think about Tim Boyle.
People were fired up. Like, I don't want to have that again. Get Teddy in. But anyway, we'll go to break, go to early break, and we're going to have Gabby on. She's going to break down Ben Johnson's press conference because he did speak on some interesting things here, and we'll get her thoughts on it. But before we do that, I got to tell you about our friends over at Guardian Alarm, because you want a good defense, by the way, because the Cowboys, when they went undefeated with Cooper Rush, he's a nobody, but they had a great defense. So there's the difference, okay? Just addressing that one more time. But you know what? We have Guardian Alarm, who's also an elite defense. Customized solutions from real experts, 24/7 professional monitoring, and technology backed by people. All you got to do is call 1-800-STAY-OUT today. Call 1-800-STAY-OUT today. Tell them your friends at Woodward Sports sent you, and you can get the best protection.
In Detroit sports coverage.
Welcome, everybody, back to the Morning Woodward Show here on the Woodward Sports Network. If you're watching on our YouTube channel, don't forget to hit that like button. We'll try to get to 60, 70, 80 likes. We'll see how many we can get by the end of this segment. Just hit the like button if you haven't already. If you can't watch us live, it's all good. You can go back and re-listen to the podcast, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, whatever platform you listen to. And if you're on the website, don't forget, during this time especially, training camp season, check out the latest news, articles, updates for all Detroit Lions, Detroit Pistons, Detroit Red Wings, even Detroit Tigers. Updates, show clips, and merchandise. We have a very special guest joining us, Gabby D. Phillips, who is down at Allen Park. Gabby, are you there?
I am here. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. So I want to ask you, Gabby, just how has it been down there? I know you've gotten a chance to talk with, at least listen to a ton of different coaches and players, but just overall your experience and some of your biggest takeaways.
Definitely. It's been fantastic. I know the first thing that we were really talking about leading up to training camp is the energy and how it compares to what we saw on Hard Knocks last year. And I think the biggest thing for me is that everyone is staying very serious and very humble. And with this hype train going on now, even more than last year with Hard Knocks, obviously there was a lot of doubts last year, but with this hype train this year, it's been brought up in nearly every press conference and every chance the media has had to speak to coaches, coordinators, or players. And they all have the same message that, they haven't proved themselves yet. It's a new season. It's a new start. It's a fresh start. And they're not listening to the outside noise. They're focusing on their progress that they're making right now and working up to the season this year and proving everyone right. But that hype train is not swaying them one way or the other.
Absolutely. Gabby, is there any player or players who have really stood out to you as somebody who's watched practice very closely?
Definitely. Obviously, I think the most obvious one, and we're hearing a lot in media across Detroit, is Amon-Ra St. Brown. His work ethic is completely unbeatable. I mean, after practice every day, going through and making those catches, his 200, 300, and yesterday I dropped a single one. And he did joke, and he said if he does drop one, it's typically the first ball, just because it's an adjustment to get used to the machine throwing to him. So seeing him live in action and his focus and his consistency that has now been echoed today in the press conference, where Ben Johnson said that Jared Goff texted him in the offseason when Jared Goff and Amon-Ra St. Brown were out in California together throwing and practicing and getting those reps in away from Allen Park. And he said, this is his year. This is his year. And I think that coming from Jared Goff says a lot. And this is his year not only on the field, but I also think in the locker room. He spoke to yesterday. I asked him about, his leadership, and I don't think that he believes that he is a leader. And he's not saying that he's a leader. He's like, if I'm going to show up and I'm going to be the person that I'm going to be, I hope that I am a leader, but I'm not doing that by saying that I am. I'm doing it by my actions, which, just goes hand in hand with who he is. And I think the second person that I'd be looking out for, and Lucas is going to love to hear this, is Laporta. Laporta has been electric. Ben Johnson today spoke to him earning his stripes, and that they believe that every single player has to go out there and earn their stripes. And in the spring, he said he believed he earned his stripes to be practicing with Jared Goff and being on that first team and getting his reps in now in training camp with Jared Goff. And really, they're putting him out there consistently. And Ben Johnson spoke to him being, the pass catcher and the run blocker. And that's why they see him being successful on this team, because of those skills. And we're going to see more of that this weekend when they get pads on. They'll get pads on Friday, so we'll see more of that run blocking ability then.
And another question, too, because I saw this also tweeted out by Tim Twentyman. I'm sure you heard the same thing with just regarding the rookies. Antoine Green, I know that's been an interesting name because he was taken in the 7th round. You're not going to have Jameson Williams. You got Mims. You got Antoine Green. What kind of noise has Antoine Green been making to now already be earning, getting more respect among coaches?
Yeah, he was the second player mentioned in terms of earning those stripes. So he did get out there and get some reps with Jared Goff yesterday, which was great to see. Ben Johnson also spoke to the fact that, yes, he did earn those stripes, but it's also a good situation for him because there are some players dinged up. But he has earned that right. He's playing faster now than in the spring, he also mentioned. But he needs to play 4x4 every single snap. So we'll see more from him, I'm sure, today. But really what we have to be looking out for with those rookies is, yes, while they're looking good now, how are they going to look when they get those pads on? That's that next step on Friday where I'm sure we'll hopefully see some progression. But ultimately, both Ben Johnson and Dan Campbell have said there is most likely going to be some regression in that time because it is a completely different element to add in at the NFL level.
Gabby, I know we kind of had this discussion briefly off air, but I want you to describe the range of emotions with the whole CJ Gardner-Johnson. When he goes down, it looks bad. It looks like he might have a serious injury. He's fine. Describe what it felt for you being there and just the whole atmosphere of everyone in the building.
Of course, Sam. So when it happened, we're obviously all out there on the field, all see what had gone down. From my perspective, I wasn't able to see exactly what had happened. I saw the aftermath of it, him getting carted off, And I think the biggest thing for me was being able to tell what a difference he has made personally as a character and as an individual on this team, seeing all the players react to it and having, a different weight in the air after he was carted off the field and his disappointment. I think that says a lot to him. I think that says a lot to his character and the difference as a personality that he is making on the team. And then that this was spoken to afterwards as well. So because of that and because of the person that he is and how much he has brought to this team into the locker room already, the crash was fast. They're all obviously professionals and they continued on with practice. But there was definitely a different kind of weight in the air. And then afterwards, the buzz around, okay, what is happening? Is he fine? He's not fine. A lot of, talk in here. Practice had ended and we're all trying to figure out, okay, what's going on? Has he gone in for testing yet? And then hearing that he was okay. And also just trying to be and get that information out to all the Woodward Sports followers and getting that out in a timely manner and making sure that we're on top of it, because obviously it's not only from our perspective, this high and low, but everyone's going along with that and they're all having their own emotions and not being able to kind of get that first take of what is happening and get the first ears on things as we're able to in this industry. So once we found out that he was okay, I think everyone was able to take a deep breath. I had already made it back to the studio by then, which was great to be able to, walk in to that news that everything was okay and that we're going to be fine. So he is not getting any reps in practice. Obviously, Dan Campbell yesterday said that he's looking good. All of his tests are looking good. No structural damage. Fantastic. So I think it was a big scare for everyone and really puts into perspective, yes, this is awesome. This is fun. But injuries are a huge part of the game, and you have to be prepared in situations like that.
And I read also with Jahmyr Gibbs, the most intriguing thing, and I've been echoing this from the top of the mountains, this man being an offensive weapon. But now you're seeing him in training camp, and it's being reported he's doing running back drills, he's working with the wide receivers, the man's just moving all around the field. What has been that like watching Jahmyr Gibbs? And how they're utilizing or planning to utilize him? Because the man just seems at this point he's going to be a Swiss Army knife for the Lions.
For sure. Great insight from Ben Johnson just now on Gibbs is that they're focusing at this moment on him learning those running back basics because of how short of a period of time they have before the Giants come in. So they're doing a very quick install, much faster than I think that they originally anticipated or would have liked to have. So they're focusing on that fast install, pushing the envelope a little bit more in these coming days of, his playbook, his knowledge, his skill set, what they're preparing him for with the Giants. And so that install is going to get more aggressive and you'll see that escalation happen. But they're focusing on those basics right now and he's getting those under his belt and it's very clear their confidence in him.
Yes, good news about Jahmyr Gibbs. So what are your in-person impressions of Jared Goff? I'm sure all Lions fans are eager to hear about that.
Yeah. Calm, cool, and collected. I mean, there is no moment where he does not go out there and seems like he is straight on, knowing what he's doing with a great plan in mind. Very, very calm, very confident, and also working with those other players one-on-one. You see those conversations with St. Brown happening. You see those conversations with JMO happening. So he's still working on that development of those relationships, not getting comfortable. But definitely more confident. It is the second year with Ben Johnson in this position, and he spoke to it as well. And I think it's very evident out on the field that they're not worrying so much about the install and about making sure it works. They're asking the questions of, okay, what is not working now, and how do we fix this? It's not about installing it and making it happen. It's about how do we improve this year on those mistakes from previous years and the ones that we're continuing to make.
And do you have any updates on, obviously we know, to some extent Hendon Hooker, but just kind of give us the insight of what you've been seeing with him, what he's been up to, but also Jameson Williams. I know he went out, it was a simple injury. He was kind of walking around yesterday. Can you give us just an update on some of those guys?
Yeah, so obviously we have Marvin Jones Jr., who is out with his back injury. We do not expect to see him getting any reps in practice. This was something that they're very aware of. Dan Campbell made a very clear assurance that this is not something that anyone needs to be worried about. So that is the first. And then obviously we have CJ Gardner-Johnson. I don't think that we'll see him practicing throughout the rest of the week and probably into the early days of pads. For Jameson, there wasn't much spoken on his injury. He was practicing off to the side, stretching and getting some drills in with CJ Gardner-Johnson and Marvin Jones Jr. yesterday. I think they're just taking it easy with him. Obviously, he's going to have a suspension for those first games. So why push it too much right now, especially before pads? Hopefully we'll see him get out there when the pads get on. And then from there, it's just, I think there's a lot of preparation in terms of conserving the bodies now for when the pads do go on.
And the people want to know an update on TK85. What's Tom Kennedy doing? Is he out there? What's he doing?
Yeah, no. He's out there. He's getting those reps.
He's out there, all right.
He had some good action yesterday. But we're seeing a lot of players cycle through, and they're not, sticking with their typical people. They're not sticking with their safe bets. I mean, you see them putting in Antoine Green. You see them putting in the rookies. You see them putting in Brock Wright. You see them putting in Laporta. You see all different people cycling through the different positions to get those reps. And I think they're just trying to figure out at this point, with the Giants coming in, how do we make this work and escalate this as quickly as possible for this first joint practice.
Jesus, Tom Kennedy coming to a practice squad near you.
I knew
Zero
that
catch
Sam.
season loading.
I knew that
I
would
will
get
be
Sam.
drinking the coffee. Not Spencer, not Neil, not D-Mac. I will be drinking the coffee.
All right, well, we appreciate you, Gabby. Thank you for joining us. We'll have you back very, very soon.
Thank you.
Can you tell everybody where they can find you for updates for the Detroit Lions?
Yeah, so all on the Woodward Sports Media. We have been putting out recaps every single day. Some fun content hopefully coming tomorrow as well. It's great being down here for the team at Woodward Sports and being able to share kind of this inside information and what's been going down here at camp every day. So look out at Woodward Sports for all of those updates.
All right, we appreciate you, Gabby. Before we go to break, JB, can you tell us about our friends over at Big Boy?
Oh, definitely. I got you. Let me get some music for you guys to get this started with.
Get it cooking, JB.
There we go.
Get it cooking.
Strawberry Fest is back at Big Boy. Try the classic breakfast items like the strawberry hotcakes or, of course, the mouth-watering red velvet waffles. But if you're not feeling breakfast, try the strawberry bacon chicken wrap or cool off with the refreshing summer splash salad. And don't forget to get some dessert before you leave because they got the very delicious classic strawberry pie, the deep fried vanilla Oreos, and of course the strawberry hot fudge cakes, and so much more at your local Big Boy.
How would you like to win not one, but 2 vehicles of your choice? One for you and one for your wife, your girlfriend, or your best bud. Get to Lady Jane's today for an award-winning haircut and automatically enter for your chance to win. Courtesy of Les Stanford Buick GMC of Ferndale. Lady Jane's, open 7 days a week, walk in anytime. It's wicked awesome. Love Woodward Sports? Love wearing clothes? Then you should be wearing Woodward Sports clothes. Check out our full line of merch at woodwardsports.com. Just click on Shop. We have all your favorite designs, like Dan Campbell kneecaps, Woodward Golf, and of course, our own logoed out merchandise. Men, women, infants, kids all love Woodward Sports. Impress your friends. Impress your boss. Impress your dog. Buy Woodward Sports merch today. Woodward Avenue, the first paved road in America. Woodward Sports, the first sports network born in Detroit and made for Detroit.
How would you like to win $100,000 trip to Vegas? 100K trip to Vegas. I mean, come on, guys. Cintron is doing it. You could take your closest friends with you and live it up in the city that never sleeps. It's the Cintron Energy. Drink it and live it. Purchase a 24-pack today and enter to win the 100K Vegas giveaway at drinkcintron.com/Vegas and buy Cintron at your local Meijer. Cintron, the healthier energy drink with a great taste and the choice of people who desire to look good, feel great, and be the best versions of themselves. drinkcintron.com/Vegas. Welcome back to the Morning Woodward Show here on the Woodward Sports Network. We just got done talking to our Woodward Sports beat reporter, one of them, and Gabby D. Phillips. She's down there covering the Detroit Lions for us, and she'll be joining the show another time as well, and we'll get some of those other questions we didn't get to, but appreciate her for doing that. Had some pretty good insight there. I want to move the topic to more relevant news, at least nationally, with the NFL. They came out with a portion of their NFL's top 100 players list, and I know people in the audience have seen it. Sam, Lucas, JB, Alex, you guys have seen it as well. But I want to get some reactions to specifically who made the list and maybe some of the surprises before we get to the Lions players that we think will make the list or maybe who have already made the list. And I guess the obvious one for me would be, how in the hell did Jamal Williams make it over Trevor Lawrence, Harrison Smith, Tristan Wirfs, Devonta Smith? How in the hell is Jamal Williams just behind Dalvin Cook as well?
That's the insane one to me. And Trevor Lawrence, obviously.
What the hell?
Makes no sense.
Now, mind you, and I don't want to take away anything Jamal did last season. Listen, he broke Barry Sanders' touchdown record, all that. Yeah, great. And by the way, it stinks because I got to look in the record book and see Jamal Williams now. So that pisses me off. You're not going to see Barry Sanders. You're going to see Jamal Williams. But you know what?
Swag kamikaze.
And you know what Jamal Williams owes that ranking to? You know who he owes respect?
Frank Ragnow, Penei Sewell, Jonah Jackson, Ben Johnson.
Can they
situation.
Can they all be on that list alongside him? Just in
Penei
like a
better be.
Like
if
an
Penei's
asterisk.
not on this list. It's invalid.
I'll tell you one thing, and we'll get to that next segment, who we think will make the list from the Lions, and I got some thoughts on that, who should be on this list. But just to start with Jamal Williams for a second, how Dalvin Cook is 91. Jamal Williams is 95. Now, to even make it worse, Trevor Lawrence is 96. And Harrison Smith, as old as he is, he's not no slouch. He's 97. Tristan Wirfs, an all-pro tackle, he's 98. Like, it's not that I have a problem with where those guys are ranked, but when you put Jamal at 95, Sam, what in the hell is that?
All right, so this is complicated. Obviously, Trevor Lawrence at 96 is one of the most egregious things I've ever seen. He should be top 30. At best, he's a top 5 quarterback already. At worst, he's probably a top 8 quarterback. Should absolutely be top 30. He proved so much last year. 25 touchdowns, 8 interceptions.
You want to see something that's really going to piss you off, Flannel?
What's that?
I want you to look at number 86 on this list.
Justin Fields.
What?
Ahead of Trevor Lawrence.
Man. All right.
Ahead of Trevor Lawrence.
What?
But you see number 88. Hutch got on there.
Yes.
But behind Justin Fields.
Justin Fields ahead of Trevor Lawrence.
Dude, now, okay, this is going to piss me off because, and listen, we echo this often. I like Justin Fields. Me and Lucas talk. We actually argue with Booner a lot about it. How we have more confidence in Justin Fields than most people do. But 86 above Trevor Lawrence? Above Trevor Lawrence.
One of these guys won a playoff game.
Who votes? Who votes?
These are the players. That's the
these are
most
players.
mind-boggling part about
This is what happens when you make
list is voted
marijuana
on
legal.
by the players.
This is what happens when you make marijuana legal in the league. Guys are getting high, going to dispo, and voting on this shit. What the hell is this?
It's painful. It is painful. And if you think about it, they're saying that Jamal, as far as taking it back to Jamal for a second, Hutch was an 88, so he was only 7 spots compared to Hutchinson, how important he was to this team. And that's the other mind-boggling part about this. If Hutch is an 88, Jamal's a 95, there better be some Amon-Ra Panay on this list, or I'm going to lose it.
And I don't want to give anything away because, by the way, man, I'm going to voice some concerns on who I think should be there from the Lions. But just at this list, Sam, I'll let you have the floor. Justin Fields over Trevor Lawrence. Come on, dude.
Well, let's start with Justin Fields over Trevor Lawrence. I, like you, Jeff, I, like you, Lucas, am a Justin Fields believer, but he has not done nearly enough to be over Trevor Lawrence on this list. Justin Fields, quite frankly, should not be on this list yet. And I understand Justin Fields is dynamic. Justin Fields is arguably the best running quarterback in the NFL right now, even above Lamar Jackson. The season he had as a runner was phenomenal, but as a thrower, Justin Fields only completed 20 passes or more in a game once. And oh, by the way, 20 is not that many. You know how many times Trevor Lawrence did that last year? 13.
Wow.
I mean, Trevor Lawrence is clearly a much better and much more polished passer than Justin Fields. And I know I don't like to do this whole QB wins thing because I think it's flawed. But
No. That's the most important thing when it comes to quarterbacks, in my opinion. It's not flawed. And I'm not saying that coming after you. I'm just saying for the people that are going to be like, oh, well, Fields is in a worse situation. No, Trevor Lawrence is when he had one of the most miraculous playoff comebacks in NFL history, and he won in a playoff game against Justin Herbert, no less.
I was going to say, Lucas, as much as I still think that quarterback wins is flawed. It's a team game. The reality is Trevor Lawrence was 9-8 as a starter, led the Jacksonville Jaguars to the playoffs, led the Jacksonville Jaguars to a playoff win, led them out of a hole that he helped dig, but it still showed a lot of resilience.
Toe-to-toe with Patrick Mahomes in that game.
He was all right.
That was close.
That game should not have been close as it was.
But was it close?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm agreeing with you, Jeff. Like, that game should not have been close.
I'm not saying stat-wise, but that game was close against these Super Bowl winning.
He didn't implode at Arrowhead. He was fine. And that's kind of the progression in a young quarterback and a young up-and-coming team. Lose at Arrowhead in the playoffs. I think we would all agree with that. But yeah, Trevor Lawrence, he was 9-8 as a starter, and Justin Fields, and I'm not saying that all the losses were his fault because they weren't. That defense, when they got rid of Roquan Smith and Robert Quinn, was the worst in the league. He was 3-12 as a starter. And there were some games where he couldn't complete a big pass, where he would have a terrible turnover, a la the game at home against the Detroit Lions, where he threw that horrific pick six to Jeff Okudah. If he doesn't throw that pick six, the Lions probably don't win that game.
True.
We're probably not talking about the Lions with the expectations that they have right now if Justin Fields didn't make that terrible decision. So to that, I say thank you. But one other thing that I want to address too is the whole Jamal Williams thing, because I am the first one right now to say that I think Jamal Williams has become a little bit too disrespected by Lions fans on his way out the door. I do think he deserves to be on this list at 95. I just don't think he deserves to be above Trevor Lawrence, Harrison Smith, Tristan Wirfs, DeMarcus Lawrence, Devontae Smith.
Hell no.
Maybe Harrison Smith, but even that I would say no. I think Jamal Williams being at 95 is fine. It just kind of shows what dog water this list was, because as much as you want to say about Jamal Williams, he was 11th in the NFL in rushing yards last season with, I think, 1,066, and first in rushing touchdowns with 17. The second closest had 13. So Jamal Williams does deserve a spot at the bottom of this list. But over Trevor Lawrence, that is, my brain can't even process that.
You
right
can't compute
now.
that.
I can't
compute those stats.
I'll say this. I'll say two things here. Number one, Trevor Lawrence, a year removed from Urban Meyer. A year removed from Urban Meyer, the most disastrous situation in the NFL, point blank, end of story. And he comes out the next season, wins his division. I get it was a terrible division, but still 9-8. Doug Peterson without Calvin. There's no Calvin Ridley. This is the surgeons of Christian Kirk. They beat the Chargers on a comeback when Trevor Lawrence looked god-awful, but the second half looked a lot better. Went toe-to-toe, at least team-wise. It was close against the Chiefs. I know they ended up losing that game, but the fact that a year removed from Urban Meyer, they win a playoff game.
Yeah.
And Trevor Lawrence has a great sophomore year. I don't get it. This is what my problem is with Justin Fields. I think Justin Fields will be fine in the NFL, but people are overrating his ability, his dynamic, what he can do with his legs, how dynamic he is with his legs. People assume that equates to a top 80 player. I'll tell you what, if Justin Fields is on this list, Jared Goff deserves to be on this list.
100%.
He deserves to be on this.
I agree.
I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but if you're going to put Fields on this list, I better see Goff in the 70s, man. Like, if Goff's in the hundreds with Fields at what is he at?
86, I think
86 for Justin Fields. Goff should be 75. This makes no sense, and if he's not, I'm sorry. The players are going off wow ability. I go off who's a better quarterback. It's Jared Goff right now. Justin Fields, as great and dynamic as he is with his legs, get that out of here. The man just this past season threw more touchdowns than interceptions by a couple, like 6. Which great. That's what we're looking for. But that gets you into the top 80. Are you high? Are you high? Are you high?
Smoking on that reefer.
Like that? No, that's my problem. I'm not saying it's right or wrong for Goff, but again, this is the consistency I need from the players here. If Fields is 86, then Goff needs to be on this list. I'm sorry. It is what it is.
Thank you, JB.
You can't have a guy.
JB wants a word.
The man was top 5, top 6 in multiple categories, and he's not going to be on this list. Oh, but Jeff, it was 1 year. Fields was 1 year. You idiots! Holy hell!
They got him off his rocker.
Holy hell!
They got him off his rocker.
Don't go. It was 1 year. Fields had 1 year. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. Sorry.
That's all right, JB.
JB, what you got?
I think we figured out Jeff's trigger word. I think it's Fields. I just got to say that, and then he just blows up all the way. But still, seriously, like, come on. Goff deserves to be on this list. Definitely higher than Justin Fields. Jamal Williams, as you said, I'm not even giving him that 97. He needs to be dumped all the way back to 100.
They're leaving guys like Kevin Byard off this list.
That's wild.
and then the honorable mentions, it's like all of these guys are more deserving of it than Jamal skill-wise.
Yeah, I mean, I just
don't understand it.
No, I just think that with Jamal Williams, I do believe he has been a little bit overhated on his way out. And I believe it was Steve Reinert who said this. He said that, I can't find it right now, but he said something like Sam was just talking trash about Jamal Williams a couple of weeks ago, calling his speech in Hard Knocks fake. That is why I am the conscientious objector when it comes to this, because I have no emotional attachment to Jamal Williams like a lot of Lions fans. I didn't like the whole, he likes anime, he cried on national TV, then like Detroit versus everybody, he had that speech, he's like dynamic, all that kind of stuff as a personality. But no, I judge what he did on the field, and on the field he had the best season by Detroit Lions running back since Barry Sanders by the numbers. I get it that it isn't that, like, he doesn't have a lot of competition, but at the same time, Jamal Williams on this list at 95, I have no problem with. And I know, before we move on from this topic, because I know in the next segment we're going to talk about Lions players that we think should make this list down the road, I have to give a shout out to my guy Aiden Hutchinson,
Oh,
of
yeah,
course, making the list at number 88
As a rookie.
He's a dog.
I mean, that's the thing, because Aiden Hutchinson, obviously, I probably would have even put him a little bit higher on this list. But when you're a rookie, when you have a great season, but not like an all-time great season by a defensive end a la a guy like Javon Curse, he just had a regular great season where he led all rookies in sacks. The fact that he was recognized being on this list is absolutely huge. And I think this will be the lowest that he ranks on this list for the next decade.
Yep.
So
that's fair.
But this was a damn good start. I love that he's getting that recognition, and I love that Aiden Hutchinson really showed out for the Lions this year, because I obviously caped up for him all the way back when he was at college with Michigan. He's my favorite Michigan player of all time, and I understand first guessing a second overall pick isn't that big of a deal. I'm not going to be like, I told you, because a lot of people thought that Aiden Hutchinson was going to be great. But to see him go through some early season rookie growing pains and then learn from that, finish the season strong, lead a defense which in the last 10 games was pretty damn good. Bravo to Aiden Hutchinson. I love that he is on this list. I have no beef with him being 88. Hutchinson nut hugger. Oh, thank you, JB. And you know what? I am a proud Aiden Hutchinson nut hugger. I will be one for the rest of my life.
Well, you know what? We'll get rid of that film.
Loud and proud, Flannel.
And to Flannel's point about, by the way, shout out to Aiden Hutchinson. I agree with you, Sam. I think it's the highest he'll ever be on this list. I think he's going to continue to rise, no doubt about it. The reason too with Fields it's not even about Fields, because again, I like Fields. I just hate how these things play out, these rankings play out, because, and I'll get to some of these comments. People are chiming in here. Soft Jones says Fields isn't trash. The Bears roster was terrible. Real Cream of Wheat says the problem is this list putting Fields ahead of T-Law. And again, guys, just on that, in Static says, calm down, Fields is a problem for players to defend. Don't see this as a problem. Well, I'll tell you what. Is it a problem defending a guy who only had 2 games last season where he threw over 200 yards? Is this a problem? Like, is he a threat? Like, with his legs, absolutely. But this is the problem I have, is they try to crown guys prematurely. Like, you can't tell me. Anybody with eyeballs would agree. Trevor Lawrence is better than Fields.
And it's not like he didn't show it this year. It's not like we were still waiting on Trevor Lawrence to show up. He showed up after the Lions game. They woke up, and Trevor Lawrence, almost like Goff, I think he was the second most efficient quarterback. He threw 15 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. So this last half of the season, they only lost, I believe, 1 game. They beat the Cowboys when no one expected them to do so. They proved that game. And they went on the playoffs and they proved more people wrong. So not only Justin Fields proved people wrong, no doubt. The Bears do not have a good roster, no doubt. But when you have a quarterback who is showing you more, arguably, in my opinion, I don't even think it's arguable, has more talent at the quarterback position, why is he behind him? That's the whole thing. It's fine to have Fields on this list, but behind T-Law is just disgusting.
Well, that's the thing, Lucas. I don't even necessarily, if you wanted to put Justin Fields in the 90s, I wouldn't even necessarily have a problem with it. And because we do not hate Justin Fields. No. I think he has a lot of talent. I would say the difference between Trevor Lawrence and Justin Fields right now, they both had, I would say, underwhelming rookie years, and that's putting it nicely, but they both came into very, very bad situations. Trevor Lawrence proved without a shadow of a doubt with his phenomenal second season that it was all Urban Meyer. It was all the poor situation. When you gave him something a little bit better, you gave him Doug Peterson, you gave him Travis Etienne, you gave him Brandon Sheriff, you gave him Christian Kirk and Zay Jones and the like. He was going to ball out, and he did. Albeit Justin Fields, he didn't get all of those upgrades in his second year, but he is still yet to prove that it was all the situation. I think Justin Fields has a chance this year to have that resurgent year where he has more touchdown passes, where he does show that he can throw the football while still maintaining that dynamic running ability. And then only then will we be able to put to bed the talk of, oh, Justin Fields can't throw. He hasn't shown enough just quite yet. I think he will, but Trevor Lawrence has already proven things that Justin Fields just quite simply has not even come close to proving.
Well, and this is my other problem too, is pull up that list where Fields ranks, and I'll end it with this. This is my problem. It's not even just over Lawrence, and I'll go even as far to say, how in the hell is this man ranked over Tua?
Oh, dear God.
Tua in 13 games last season, 25 touchdowns, 8 picks, almost averaged 270 yards per game.
How is Tua over Trevor?
Yes, that's what
How is Tua over Trevor? Oh my God. That just made me more mad than Fields, because at least Fields is crazy athletic and talented, but his ceiling is just crazy.
No.
If Justin Fields is, I can understand where they're coming from with what he can be, but Tua? Tua over Trevor
Yes.
Lawrence? Oh my God.
And that's my problem. Tua over Lawrence, no. Fields over Tua and Lawrence, no. So this list stinks. But you know what? We'll go to break. When we get back, we'll discuss who we think will make the list for the Detroit Lions and which players will be a part of it. You already saw Aiden Hutchinson, but who else deserves to be a part of this list? Before we go to break, Sam, I need your help here. Can you tell us about our friends over at Swiss Insurance?
Oh, 100%. And now that summer's here, it is important to make sure you are properly covered. Whether it's a grad party or just a group of people over to enjoy the lake or pool, your liability exposure increases significantly in summertime. Let the Swiss Insurance Group review your coverage and make sure you are protected from an unexpected loss. Check us out at swissins.com or call Mark today at 248-800-4177. Again, that is 248-800-4177, Swiss Insurance.
By now you know me, Christina Gennari, as the obvious choice in real estate. And you know my website, soldchristina.com, as your #1 resource for buying or selling your home. Myself, along with my amazing staff, pride ourselves on making your home buying and selling experience a relaxing and easy one. Come see why we are the obvious choice. Christina Gennari at soldchristina.com, the obvious choice in real estate.
You have an opinion? Make sure it's seen and heard. Corner, jumper, tweet us, hop on the YouTube chat, slide in the DMS at Woodward Sports on all social media.
Welcome back to the Morning Woodward Show here on the Woodward Sports Network. Jeff Iafrate, Sam Flannel, JB, Lucas Klotz, and Alex Westfall joining you on this wonderful Wednesday. It is the second hour of the show. Thank you for sticking with us. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that like button. We just hit 100 likes. We'll see how far we can go here. If you haven't liked the video, hit the like button. If you're not subscribed, what are you doing? Hit the subscribe button, support the network. And again, guys, if you missed the show, you can go back and re-listen on any podcast platform you listen to, Apple Podcast, Spotify. Leave a 5-star review for Sam and his wonderful flannels. And if you're on the website, which you should be, don't forget, latest news, articles, updates, show clips, and merchandise, all on the website. I want to get into and kind of stay on this top 100 list and kind of talk about projections and what we think or who we think will make the list from the Detroit Lions. And they've already, gave away Aiden Hutchinson. He's there, and we, expect him to be there. But, Sam, I think it's safe to say Aiden ain't the best player on the Detroit Lions, so that tells me there's more Lions to come on this top 100 list.
Yeah, you look at guys like Amon-Ra St. Brown, Penei Sewell, Frank Ragnow. Those are the ones that really stand out to me, and maybe even Jared Goff because Justin Fields is on this list at 86. But here's what scares me a little bit. I am genuinely worried that one of these guys gets snubbed, and here's why.
They will.
Just because this list and what it looks like right now. You look at wide receiver with Amon-Ra St. Brown. If he is not on this list, there should be riots at headquarters. But let me point out something sobering. Devontae Smith is at 100. There are people who think Devontae Smith is better than Amon-Ra St. Brown. I don't think so, but even Devontae Smith at 100 I think is egregious. DeAndre Hopkins is at 90. He's a guy that has a lot of respect around the NFL and still has a lot of good football left in him. That's concerning for Amon-Ra St. Brown's prospects. What about Terry McLaurin at 94?
That scares me.
Well, that's the thing, because I think in this room we all think that Amon-Ra St. Brown is better than Terry McLaurin.
Yep.
But that's not the consensus opinion, and Terry McLaurin is a damn good wide receiver, and I wouldn't even be mad if he were higher on this list. So that scares me a little bit for Amon-Ra St. Brown. If I were to make me happy, Amon-Ra St. Brown I think has to be somewhere between, I'm gonna be generous, between like 50 and 60.
That's exactly what I was gonna say too.
I'm not gonna say like Neil Rule that he's on Justin Jefferson's level right now, but at the same time he's damn good and he deserves to be recognized. And even a guy like Penei Sewell, I'm a little bit worried that he gets snubbed as well, because I think he should be on this list somewhere between like 60 and 80. But you look at Tristan Wirfs at 98. I think Tristan Wirfs is better than Penei Sewell right now. I think it's at the very least arguable, and I think he gets a lot of respect.
He's got more accolades.
Absolutely. What about Laramie Tunsil at 85? I think Laramie Tunsil right now is a better player than Penei Sewell, and is very
I think he's coming off an all-pro season.
Yeah,
is highly respected, and this is both for Frank Ragnow and Penei Sewell, because Frank Ragnow I believe will get snubbed and won't make this list. What about Chris Lidstrom at 87? I think Chris Lidstrom last year, besides for guys like Trent Williams and maybe Lane Johnson, was as good of an offensive lineman as you'll find in the NFL. He had a better season than Zach Martin last year.
Yep.
He had a better season than Quentin Nelson, who are kind of like the staples at guard. Chris Lidstrom was the best guard in the NFL last year, and he's at 87.
Wow.
So I think that Penei Sewell and Amon-Ra St. Brown should be on this list. And Frank Ragnow, it wouldn't bother me as well, maybe even Jared Goff. But I think maybe one or two of them get snubbed, and I think it would be absolutely egregious. The only hope that I have is that this list as presently constructed is so bad that maybe Penei Sewell will get ranked over Laramie Tunzel and Tristan Wirfs. Like, maybe he will. I don't think it's deserved, but it wouldn't shock me. I don't think it's egregious or anything, but
Right.
I hope that the Lions don't get snubbed in the worst way.
Now, Elgato says, who cares about this stupid list living in Fantasyland? Well, I'll tell you, Elgato, two things. One, it's July 26th. There you go. That's the first point. So this is what we have to talk about. But number two, no one else is going to talk about this. No one else is going to put on for Detroit and make sure that these guys get the respect they deserve. So it's on us to talk about it and talk about who deserves to be on this list. And Sam made a great point for Penei, for Amon-Ra, and why, honestly, I can see them being more snubbed than making the list because of the guys you mentioned. I mean, you have Devontae Smith at 100, you have Terry McLaurin at 94. That ain't good. And they've already went down to 81, and Amon-Ra's not there. So, in my opinion, he should be. He's a top 100 player in the NFL. But at the same time, this is voted upon players. And players often, you think of guys that are bigger names, like Devontae Smith playing for a team that made the Super Bowl. He played at Alabama. He won the Heisman. He has more accolades. He's well known. If you think about football, put him side by side, I like Amon-Ra better. But regardless, DeAndre Hopkins at 90, and that's a guy with a lot of cachet. So to your point, Sam, it doesn't give me hope that Amon-Ra makes this list, which, again, not surprised. And it is disappointing. Penei Sewell, though, is the interesting one because all the offensive linemen they have in this, they've only came out with 81 to 100, and they have some pretty damn good offensive linemen in this group of players. The one player that I think should make this list, that if I have hope and I could bet on one player, it'd have to be Frank Ragnow.
Really?
For a guy who's a top 3 center in the NFL, how the hell is he not a top 100 player?
He's not going to be.
But he's a former All-Pro.
He's not a Dallas Cowboy. He's not a Philadelphia Eagle. He's not a San Francisco 49er. That's exactly why.
But no.
I agree with you, no, but that's exactly why.
Well, that's ridiculous.
If they put Justin Fields ahead of Trevor Lawrence based on his potential and his athleticism, they better put Penei at like 50 if Tristan Wirfs is at like, what was he at, 96? Because Penei Sewell, no doubt, is more athletic. I mean, the man had a 6-yard catch in a huge game. That should put him 50 spots ahead of him, according to this. It's ridiculous.
And Elgato says, win games, that's respect. Well, Elgato, players made this list that won less games than the Lions. So that ain't even true, my man. I'm sorry. It just ain't.
Broder with a good question. Shouldn't CJ GJ be on this list? Because, he's
possibly,
a Lion now.
Possibly, but I'm more looking to players who played with him last year. But, yeah, CJ Gardner-Johnson,
absolutely.
But the problem with CJ GJ is that I would expect on this list, I'm not saying it's my list, I'm saying on this list to be somewhere between 100 and 81. And that's just the reality, because as much as he did lead the NFL in interceptions, or was tied for the NFL lead in interceptions with 6, he did not make an All-Pro team or a Pro Bowl. Was it right? Not necessarily, but that's just reality. And on this list, with how bad it already looks, I don't think CJ GJ is going to be on this list. And certainly, Jeff, I hate to say this, Frank Ragnow's not going to be on the list. Because if Chris Lidstrom is in the mid-80s, Frank Ragnow does not deserve to be ranked ahead of Chris Lidstrom. That's just the reality of the situation. And Frank Ragnow, I would say, I don't even know if he's necessarily a top 3 center right now. I would say it's more arguable. And then definitely guys like Jason Kelce and Creed Humphrey are ahead of him. So
those are the only two to me that are ahead of him.
That Pochich from Cleveland is pretty good too, though. But still,
hold on, Flannel. We're not gonna legend kill Frank Ragnow over some Cleveland fucking Browns right now.
I'm not legend killing Frank Ragnow. I just don't think he'll be on this list. I'm not saying it's right. I'm just saying that Frank Ragnow, and also he's playing with he's never going to be 100% again because it was basically degenerative toe.
Yeah, well, Creed, Jason, I'll say this. Jason Kelce's the only one I'm willing to say undoubtedly is better. Now, Creed is,
Bro.
Creed in like 2 to 3 years is going to be unanimous.
I don't give a shit about 2 to 3 years.
He already is. His first year, he was already an All-Pro center or a Pro Bowler, and this year he's an All-Pro. Like Creed Humphrey, and it's not any diss toward Frank, but Creed Humphrey is just a really good fucking center. Like, and it's not.
Oh no, trust me.
Like,
I'm sure. Yeah, he's great. But if we're talking about a top 2 unit in football, who's the best player on that offensive line? It's Frank Ragnow. You're the best.
I'd say Penne at this point, probably. But.
Dude, he's a Frank's the best. Dude, and you would even admit this. Who ranks higher in their respective position, Frank or Penne?
Well, Frank Ragnow, but the center position's a little bit less deep, I would say.
But Frank already has an All-Pro. He has multiple Pro Bowls. Like, at this point in his career, I know Penne projected-wise, I think he'll be, if we're talking about Hall of Fame, hopefully over a 15-year career, Penne has the closest chance to that. But right now, you can't argue Frank is the heart and soul of the top 2 offensive line in the NFL, and by default, he's not no slouch. Like Creed Humphrey, if you want to have an argument with me about Creed Humphrey, fine, but to say, yeah, Creed's better, like, come on. Like, that's ridiculous.
Come on, dude. Creed Humphrey is better.
That's ridiculous.
It's not that egregious right now.
Okay, I mean, give me your case.
He already, in my opinion, that Chiefs' offensive line was falling apart because they had the whole contract situation. They needed to let go of a left tackle. Creed Humphrey came in as a rookie, was dominant in the AFC West, who had the Chargers defensive line, not easy to go against. Broncos defensive line, not easy to go against. And then the Raiders, I'm not going to count because Max Crosby on the ends. They don't really have any defensive tackles. But yet he's that force, the main force that the Chiefs, no matter who the running back is, they always usually have a solid running game. They don't have a solid running back, but they have a solid running game, and it has to do behind Creed Humphrey. If you look at all the grades, even as a rookie, he was top of the league. This year, top of the league. And I'm pretty sure he's only let up like 1 or 2 sacks over his whole career. Like, the man is a stud. Again, this is not dissing Frank Ragnow. But Creed Humphrey is an exceptional center, and I think even as a young player, he's either on Frank's tier or better, and especially as young as he is compared to Frank, I'm willing to take Creed Humphrey over it. And that's not a diss. It's both are great players, but I'm taking Creed Humphrey.
Yeah, the only thing I will not accept is he's younger. I'll take him in the future. That's not the argument. That's not the conversation we're having.
He's younger, but
right
I think
now,
already
at this moment,
this age, he's better. Or same level, if not better.
Yeah, I just don't agree. I think it's close, but just say, yeah, that guy's better. Like, dude, that's what frustrates me. Frank Ragnow, I don't think, and I would make the argument, he's, again, we're talking about a unit who the Chiefs, I think we can agree, top, 3-4 offensive line, they're right behind the Lions. But to say it's like, oh yeah, Creed Humphrey's better than Frank Ragnow.
It's not like a dismissal thing. You have to think about it, but when I sit and think about it, I'm going to lean towards Creed Humphrey.
I agree with Lucas. And I'll tell you what, Creed Humphrey, I think he has the potential. I know you hate potential now. Creed Humphrey has GOAT potential at the center position. I think he has the potential to be the next Jason Kelce, 100%.
I would say Hall of Fame. I'd have to look at centers all the time, but you're not. He's definitely going to be, he already is probably a Hall of Fame contender. But he's definitely he's unanimous All-Pro already, in my opinion, especially in the AFC when Kelsey's in the NFC.
I mean, I tell you what, all you people in the chat are going to say that Penei Sewell is a gold jacket loading. You better say Creed Humphrey's a gold jacket loading because he most certainly is. No doubt about it.
Wow. I'm just shocked. I didn't know Creed Humphrey was the
Creed Humphrey's
GOAT.
like that.
He's like that. I mean, 1 Pro Bowl, the guy's the GOAT. You're the center for Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid, and you're a GOAT all of a sudden. Great. Shout out to Creed Humphreys. I think you guys are deep throwing Creed Humphrey right now.
No, why would
I do?
I'm not some Chiefs lover like Flannel is over there.
Dude.
Hit him high for Creed Humphrey. It's just no. Is Creed Humphrey unanimously around the league too? He's got recognition for a reason.
Of course he does. He plays for the Chiefs.
But it's not just like he plays for the Chiefs where it's like during the Patriots days, like if you played for a Patriot, you were already thought of as a level better. Like no, Creed Humphrey is legit. I'm not saying he's the number 1 over Jason Kelce, but he's on that same tier as Frank Ragnow already. I'm taking him right now because he's more athletic, in my opinion, especially now that Frank's got the toe, and he's going to be better consistently. So I already think he's on the same tier. He's younger, and the fact that he's showing in the same tier that he's younger is very impressive to me, and I'm not going to wait and say, yeah, I'm a Lions fan, Ragnow's better. That's not what I'm going to do. I'm just going to state it what it is.
Man, why are you such a Lions hater? You got to say that every Lions player, you have to bump them up a couple of tiers or else you're a Lions hater, right?
This is where I love, if you swap Frank and Creed, and Frank was on the Chiefs, and not that I think there'd be any drop-off, he'd be fine. He'd be already one of the better centers on the Chiefs. I think he'd be just fine. But then now the conversation would switch, in my opinion. I think Frank would be getting a ton of love with Kansas City. That's how I feel.
He would
I think Creed is like, you guys 2 years in the league and you're already crowning the dude. It's like when Frank is put together, like he's been that dude.
It's a very hard comparison here, but Creed Humphrey almost has had like a Justin Jefferson start at the center position, where it's just like everything he's done, he's gotten better almost every week. If you go back and you watch him at the beginning of his rookie season to the end of his rookie season, at the beginning of the rookie season he was really fucking good. At the end of it, you're like, this guy's going to be a problem, and he doubled down on it again this year. It's just one of those things where it's like when you see a guy that you know is really fucking good and he shows it consistently, he does not have many penalties at all, he's a smart player, he's going to be there for a while and he's going to be really good. I do agree with you though, if Ragnow was there, he'd be getting more love. But as a Lions fan, I'd probably be a little bit more happy if I.
Wait a minute, guys. Wait a minute. So a team that wins the Super Bowl last year gets more love than a team that didn't make the playoffs nationally? Oh my God! What a novel concept.
No, yeah, I do. I think players get more overrated when they win the Super Bowl.
They 100% do.
Yeah, they do. Not saying Creed's just majorly overrated player, but yeah, you can't deny it, Sam. If you win the Super Bowl, you're gonna Creed's that dude already. I don't think it's that easy. I think it's Creed, Frank, and Jason. Jason's above them, but Frank and Creed are in the same tier. I mean, I think when people say, "Oh yeah, it's easily Creed over Frank," I don't think that's a smart thing to argue. I don't think so. I think it's close.
I don't necessarily hate it. I disagree, but I don't necessarily hate it. I think the bottom line is, though, for sure, that Amon-Ra St. Brown and Penei Sewell should be on this list at some point.
No question.
And if they're not, it would be 100% egregious, but I think we would also agree with how this list is shaping out right now. I'm a little bit scared that one of them or both of them are going to get snubbed. It would be insane, but I mean, you got Tristan Wirfs on the list, you've got Laramie Tunsil, you've got Devontae Smith, you've got DeAndre Hopkins, you've got Terry McLaurin. I mean, are you a little bit shook if any of you guys that one of those two is going to get snubbed?
I don't think Penei is, just for the same reason that Justin Fields is. I no way in hell think Amon-Ra should, but I think he's about to.
Oh,
they have DK Metcalf in the honorable mentions, and I'm sure some NFL players are going to take him over Amon-Ra St. Brown.
You're saying you think Penei will make this list?
Yeah, I think he will. I think Penei and Amon-Ra should, but I think Penei is going to be the only.
Okay.
I don't think Amon-Ra will.
I'm saying Penei. You think he will?
Yeah.
Why?
Because just with the argument they're using with Justin Fields, it was always the higher ceiling, put him over Trevor Lawrence. I think you could say the same thing from Penei Sewell and Tristan Wirfs. So they better. Penei Sewell absolutely should.
But you think Frank shouldn't?
I think Frank should. Yeah. I think Frank should, but he won't. Yeah.
So you think Frank won't, but Penei will? Mm-hmm. Even though there's more tackles that are better in front of Penei that are on this list.
Yeah, I'm not saying this is what should happen. I'm saying this is what will happen, in my opinion.
You get, because I think Frank should make this list because the center, if you talk about best centers or who respectively who's better at their position.
Yeah, you might be right.
Like Penei Sewell, you could bring up like Tristan Wirfs, Laramie Tunsil, Trent Williams, Lane Johnson. It's Creed, Jason, Frank.
No,
so Frank should be on this list over Penei.
For sure.
But regardless, we'll go to break. When we get back, I want to bring up the Jim Harbaugh suspension and get Sam's thoughts, everybody's thoughts on it as well. But before we go to break, Sam, can you tell everybody about our friends over at Planet Fitness?
Oh yes, my favorite read of the day when I get to show them
the
some of these.
Flannel.
Show them some of these, and this is you can have this too. You guys can have all of this too if you guys go to Planet Fitness. Maybe not quite at my level or Lucas's or Jeff's level, but at the same time, you can get close. And Planet Fitness is home of the judgment-free zone where anyone, and we mean anyone, can feel comfortable and work on their fitness goals. We are here to help you build a lasting, active lifestyle. At Planet Fitness, you will experience a squeaky clean gym that has tons of equipment, a full body workout in just 30 minutes in the 30-minute circuit, and all memberships include fitness training. You get all of this for only $10 a month. Yes, we are still only $10 a month. Your fitness is essential, and fitness is a key part of physical and mental wellness, which is why we have invited teens between the ages of 14 and 19 to work out free all summer long with our high school Summer Pass program. For more information or to join today, visit your local Planet Fitness or planetfitness.com. No matter where you are, there's a Planet Fitness close by. There are more than 50 in Metro Detroit and thousands more throughout the world. It's Planet Fitness, where your fitness is essential.
Oh, yeah.
Jim Harbaugh would have paid for your cheeseburger, Flannel.
Hey, probably.
At work and at home, we're there with smarter security solutions. featuring complete automation with customized alerts and more. For over 90 years, we've been the company that's been counted on to protect what matters most, all with personalized service and care. Right now, for a limited time, receive a free video device plus free installation with a new home system. Guardian Alarm. We protect Michigan.
Woodward Avenue, the first paved road in America. Woodward Sports, the first sports network born in Detroit and made for Detroit.
Welcome back to the Morning Woodward Show here on the Woodward Sports Network. We still have plenty of things to get to. We got to get to the Jim Harbaugh stuff, and then we got a fun question at 9:30. I'm not going to give anything away, but it's on our social media, Woodward Sports, on all Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and it was posted yesterday. Michael Gentry cooked it up, actually, and it's an interesting question. I want to get your guys' thoughts. I won't spoil it, but I want to get to the Jim Harbaugh stuff right now. Jim Harbaugh, finally, after all the speculation, all right, the investigation the NCAA was doing on Jim Harbaugh, they finally come to a decision. 4-game suspension for Jim Harbaugh. And again, Jim Harbaugh faces a level 1 violation. It's the most serious kind in the NCAA's purview. And it's also for not cooperating with NCAA enforcement. And again, all the details with this specifically, apparently it was during a dead period where Jim Harbaugh bought a cheeseburger for somebody, but more than that, he lied. And that's really where the NCAA put the hammer down. And now the question is, first 4 games, they're home games, and they faced East Carolina, UNLV, Bowling Green, and then they open up the Big Ten competition with Rutgers. So, Sam,
tough schedule.
They will be just fine without Harbaugh. Now, the question is, does Jerome Moore get some punishment as well? And if he does, I'm assuming Mike Hart would take over those abilities or those duties while he's out. And I think they'll be fine because Michigan isn't a team full of freshmen. They have roughly the same team, or for the most part, the same team from last season. So those guys have enough experience that I think will be fine to hold down 4 games. But really on the suspension itself, Sam, what are your thoughts on it?
I'll tell you what, it is unjust. He should fight this till the I don't care. I'm just kidding. I know you guys were maybe expecting me to yell and scream or anything, but I think Chuck Brewer puts it perfectly. I think he just says, my simple view, I don't care. And at this point, that is how I feel. I just want Michigan to continue to win games. And like you guys say, their first 4 games, you got your 3 non-conference, and then you got Rutgers at home. I think they could hire Coach Iafrate or Coach Klotz or Coach Westphal or Coach Bryant or even Coach Flannel. Hey. But you might actually sabotage.
No, yeah.
I was about to say that's a bad idea.
Coach Klotz is losing to Bowling Green. Like that.
I'm losing to Bowling Green.
Yeah, you're leading
from the TOL, baby.
Oh,
you know who TOL's rival is? BG I-75 rivalry right there.
Shut up.
The fucking Falcons,
this, man.
the Bowling Green Falcons.
Dude, I don't understand with all this conversation too about Harbaugh, and I want to get to some of these comments because people are already chiming in. Coach Walk 37 says, I wonder if Harbaugh was a coach in the SEC if he would have been suspended. Tennessee had over 200 violation, and LSU has as many and no suspension. Philip C says, Michigan AD really sucks. Nicholas Duncan says,
really
U of M going to come out swinging at the league. Koke says there is no serious program in the country that is clean enough. 4 games for a cheeseburger is so dumb. And Chuck Brewer says Urban Meyer covers up domestic abuse and drug use, 3 games.
Hell yeah.
And if you guys forget too, that season where Urban Meyer was suspended the first 3 games, later in the season, at least defensively, it kind of screwed things up. I don't know if you'd credit that to Urban Meyer being gone, but I don't see anything like that for Jim Harbaugh. I don't think 4-game suspension is going to dismantle the entire season. They're still the best team on paper in the country. You think with Georgia losing their quarterback that Michigan has the advantage. The only team in the playoffs last season that retained their quarterback and retained a lot of their core players. I don't think this really matters, Sam. I'm with you. Well, I really don't give a damn.
And that's the thing, and I want to be consistent. I've never really given too much credence when it comes to off-the-field stuff. I just want Michigan to win more than anything in the world. And if Jim Harbaugh has been doing some improper things, especially in the last couple of years, it at the very least has resulted in potentially the greatest stretch of Michigan football in program history. I mean, in the last couple of years, we look at – I know a lot of people like to poo-poo it like they didn't play very very well in the college football playoff, which they certainly did get upset by TCU. But Michigan have climbed some mountains that they very much needed to climb. They needed to get over the Ohio State hump. They did it in 2021. They needed to get over winning at Columbus. They did that in 2022 in dominating fashion, winning by 22 points, pretty much doubling up and choking the life out of Ohio State. They needed to win Big Ten championships. They've got that. The Big Ten now runs through Michigan. And so to me, at this point, with Jim Harbaugh being suspended for just the first 4 games, they should still win those games by 30 plus. Like I said, if they hired Coach Flannel Sam, I think I could get them to a plus 30-point differential in every single one of those games. Then they come back. And honestly, if Jim Harbaugh, if in any single way that he feels wronged, if he feels persecuted, I'm not saying he should, I'm not saying he shouldn't, but Jim Harbaugh is the type of coach to harbor some resentments and harbor a chip on his shoulder. Why not come out your first game at Nebraska, go through the rest of the regular season, win the Natty, hold up that trophy, and just give the proverbial finger right to the NCAA's face? That's how you can best get revenge. And I'm not saying that Jim Harbaugh was necessarily persecuted. I'm not saying that he didn't deserve to be suspended. I'm just saying that the only thing I care about is how could it affect the season this year.
Right.
If he was suspended for the Ohio State game, if he was suspended for the game at Penn State, I would probably be like, oh shit, I'd probably be more upset, whether it be at Harbaugh or the NCAA. I'm not sure, but I would absolutely be upset. But I'm not gonna put too much credence in what goes on off the field. And for all of you who say that if it were Mel Tucker, if it were Ryan Day or Urban Meyer, no, I've never been that kind of person. I would argue that Jim Tressel should have never been fired. Bruce Pearl should have never been fired from, I believe it was either Auburn or Tennessee. But Jim Tressel, the only reason I hated him, and I was glad that he got fired, is because that sweater vest wearing geek just kicked Michigan's ass every single year.
He hated Michigan.
Even though Ohio State, and you can attest to this, Lucas, they didn't have that much more talented teams than Michigan. They weren't the juggernaut that Urban Meyer turned them into. Those teams were pretty evenly matched, and Michigan could not do shit against them. So I was happy when Jim Tressel was fired, just because, oh my God, we don't have to see that guy again. But when you look back at actually what he did, he shouldn't have been fired. Jim Harbaugh shouldn't be fired. The suspension, just if I'm a Michigan fan, I will give you guys this piece of advice. Just take these 4 games, kick everybody's ass. It's over. It's done with. And now just root for them the rest of the year. And a motivated, fired up Jim Harbaugh can lead this team to a national championship. And ultimately, they can get the last laugh. Whether they deserve the last laugh or not, that's up for interpretation. But according to Jim Harbaugh, you know he feels wronged. You know he feels persecuted. And he is going to coach angry, and I love it.
I love the
better have been a good fucking cheeseburger.
Well,
it better have been.
Soft Jones says WoodwardSports.com. He says George Bush hates cheeseburger eaters. Okay.
Is that like George Bush doesn't care about?
Hoofhearted says this should forever be known as the Nothing Burger suspension. Jake says fair to suspend him. Sure. Do I think the suspension is egregious? Also, yes. Jordan says it's going to fire up the players even more. They're playing for him. Yeah, no doubt. And Chuck says, I'm hoping that's the way it goes, Sam. Harbaugh opens up the offense and rubs it in. Yeah, I mean, regardless, even without... Yeah, pause on that, right? But even without Harbaugh, they're still going to be a 2, 3, 4 touchdown favorite over every team they face the first 4 games. So I don't think it affects them. Maybe what it does is rally them to some extent. I feel like Michigan and their mentality and what they've kind of displayed over the last 2 seasons when they started making college football playoff appearances is embracing it. Like who has it better than us? Nobody. It's that, Michigan versus the world mentality. And in what they preach, I think with Jim being suspended, I think there's a chance, Sam, that this could rally them and make them even closer as a unit.
Well, that's the thing. When you talk about who's got it better than us, I hated that because they hadn't earned that title yet. They were talking all that smack in the late 2010s when they hadn't beaten Ohio State in years, where they'd beat them in 2011 and 2003, and every other year between 2004 and 2020, Ohio State waxed us, and Michigan was still talking about who's got it better than us.
I would say Georgia.
At that time, you know what? At that time, I would say 5 to 10 programs definitively had it better than Michigan. Alabama, even maybe you could even argue Penn State at the time. For a long time, even Michigan State had it better than Michigan. But I feel like the last couple of years, honestly, Michigan has kind of quieted the talking and the chatter, and it just kind of went out and played football. And now Michigan can kind of use the whole we're underdogs, we were persecuted. Again, I'm not saying it's necessarily true, but Jim Harbaugh feels that way, and just play with that chip on their shoulder, play with that underdog mentality, play with that mentality of we're just going to hang 50 on every single team and choke the life out of them, because Michigan, they have if they're going to do it, this would be the year to win the national championship. This would be the year to just wreck all of their opponents in the Big Ten, just leave a steaming pile of ash as they should, and then actually go into the college football playoff and do something. This is the year they have to do it.
I think Nicholas makes a great point for Jim Harbaugh. Nicholas Duncan says Harbaugh is going to raw dog the league. I think that's, hey. If that's your way of saying
that's your style, that's the way you like to roll.
We don't judge on the Morning Woodward Show, man. Hey, if you think Jim Harbaugh should go raw dog the league, hey, go at it, Jim Harbaugh.
No Vaseline.
No Vaseline.
You know what? Speaking of JB, I know we had kind of an off-camera conversation yesterday in between BDE and Ermanni and Edwards. You had some thoughts on this, if you care to share them.
Oh yes. Oh man. How is Michigan ever going to win without Jim Harbaugh? Oh my God. How are they ever going to beat South Harmon Institute of Technology? I have no idea how that's going to happen.
JB, they got dogs.
Are they going to forget how to run the football? I just don't understand this right now. Like, I completely get that the NCAA doesn't want to let Michigan off the hook like this just because of a cheeseburger. But then again, this ruling is just stupid. That's why they're giving him these first 4 games. They're letting him choose which games he wants to sit out on anyway, which I have to agree with the person in the chat. I mean, I think Michigan and Jim Harbaugh are just going to go raw dog on the rest of the Big Ten and NCAA games that they have right now. And if they want to really stick it to the NCAA, you know what? Since all these are home games, the first 4 home games, first 200 people in the big house right now gets a free cheeseburger.
Oh,
yeah.
man.
That's something I would do to get revenge on them.
Well, you know, to your point, JB, that's why I think for Michigan fans, we should just embrace it at this point. They're going to go 4-0 in those games no matter what, and then the punishment is over, and there should be no residual effects, and then they can just go focus on winning the national championship. And oh, by the way, talking about South Harmon Institute of Technology, maybe they can get Hans Holloway. He's coming back from his knee injury. Remember, he was going to get that scholarship, and he didn't have anywhere to go. Is Justin Long going to play their quarterback? Oh, yeah, Bartleby Gaines was his name in the movie. Bartleby Gaines, absolutely.
What are we referencing right now? I am lost.
Accepted, the movie. South Harmon Institute of Technology. What is that an acronym for? Shit.
I'll translate it for Lucas. All right, Lucas? Think of it like this. NCAA is Lena the Plug. Jim Harbaugh is Jason Love.
Who's Adam 22 in this situation?
Oh, man.
That would be, that's a good one.
Will Johnson.
Will Johnson. Will Johnson. Well, there you go. It's, it is what it is, but the first 4 games, it isn't that big of a deal. I think at this point, for people that are saying, no way, no how, Rob Parker style, yeah, no, there is a how. He lied. So I think the suspension to some extent is fair, but 4 games, it will not affect Michigan. I don't think so at all. We're going to go to break. When we get back, I'm going to pose that question that I have. We've been cooking up for the people. It's regarding the Detroit Lions, and we'll get to that very shortly. But Lucas, could you tell us about our friends over at Randy Wise?
Oh, I can. How would you like to see famous athletes like Jim Harbaugh, who we just talked about, Darren McCarty, and Braylon Edwards play golf with average Joes like us? Well, thanks to Randy Wise Automotive and Woodward Sports, you'll be able to do just that. It's the Randy Wise Celebrity Golf Tour. Make the wise choice and pay attention to Woodward Sports for more information soon.
Love Woodward Sports? Love wearing clothes? Then you should be wearing Woodward Sports clothes. Check out our full line of merch at woodwardsports.com. Just click on shop. We have all your favorite designs, like Dan Campbell kneecaps, Woodward golf, and of course, our own logoed out merchandise. Men, women, infants, kids all love Woodward Sports. Impress your friends. Impress your boss. Impress your dog. Buy Woodward Sports merch today.
Big Boy Strawberry Fest has officially arrived, and we're here to show you the very best flavors of the season. Satisfy your sweet tooth with our deep-fried vanilla Oreos, strawberry hot fudge cake, and a slice of our classic strawberry pie. But that's not all. Cool off on a refreshing summer splash salad, or savor the flavors of our chicken Caesar wrap and strawberry bacon chicken wrap. And for breakfast lovers, don't miss out on our strawberry hotcakes or our mouth-watering red velvet waffle. Strawberry Fest is something for everyone. Celebrate the sweet season with us at Big Boy.
Let me tell you about our friends over at Outdoor Equipment Company, because your childhood may be over, but certainly playtime is not. Outdoor Equipment Company is your source for all outdoor power equipment sales, service, and parts, carrying all the top brands and servicing the Great Lakes region with locations in Metro Detroit and Greater Lansing. For more information, visit them at OutdoorEquipmentCompany.com. Outdoor Equipment Company, your power equipment playground. Thanks for sticking with us. It's the Morning Woodward Show here on the Woodward Sports Network. And JB's got the tunes, man.
Oh,
he's got the tunes. This beat, I like this beat a lot. And you guys could have been anywhere else this morning. You chose to be with us. We thank you for that. Don't forget, hit the like button if you haven't already. Let's try to get to 110, 115 likes by the end of this segment. Subscribe if you haven't already, obviously. But if you can't watch the show, you can go back and listen. Leave a 5-star review, Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Look up Morning Woodward Show. You can always re-listen to the show. I've been saving this one in my back pocket for the entire show, and it's an interesting question, just something fun we're going to do before what's trending with Lucas. And Lucas, do you have the graphic?
Oh, I do.
All
Here
right.
it comes, baby.
All right, throw it up for me. We'll read it out. Which Lions tandem will have more touchdowns? And there you have it. You got two pairs of players there. You got Amon-Ra St. Brown, and is that Jahmyr Gibbs? And then you have Sam Laporta and David Montgomery. Those are your
David
two.
Montgomery.
Jahmyr Gibbs, and by the way, you didn't specify if it was rushing or receiving, because they're both. So you know where I'm going with this. Undoubtedly, give me Amon-Ra St. Brown and Jahmyr Gibbs.
Oh.
What? You think? Okay, I'll lay it out for you. Let me lay it out for you. Okay. Amon-Ra St. Brown is going to get his 8 to 10. Okay, that's just give it to him. Then you got Jahmyr Gibbs, who could get a couple on the ground and a couple through the air. In as much as Sam Laporta has a case, because last year the tight end group combined for the most touchdowns in tight end history for the Lions, you're banking on some big production, which maybe if you think he'll be a Hall of Famer, that's fair. And David Montgomery's going to get his. If Jamal Williams got 17 touchdowns, then maybe David Montgomery can go for similar numbers. But guys, you forget that DeAndre Swift wasn't there. So Jamal Williams was eating for the most part. I think Jahmyr Gibbs will be healthy for the most part of the season. I think he'll be a big player in the pass game and in the rushing game on the ground. So give me Jahmyr and Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Yes, I would agree with you that it's going to be Jahmyr Gibbs and Amon-Ra St. Brown. And let's just work backwards really quick. I believe that Amon-Ra St. Brown will have 3 times as many receptions as rookie Sam Laporta. I think that is fair, especially, and it's more to speak to how great Amon-Ra St. Brown will be than anything against Sam Laporta. And I think this is the year where Amon-Ra St. Brown actually takes a step up when it comes to his touchdowns, because in his first 2 seasons, he's only had 11 receiving touchdowns in his first 2 years combined. I think that he has at least 10. And when it comes to Jahmyr Gibbs, I think he will have a lot of options, both catching the ball out of the backfield and running. I actually think a couple of Jahmyr Gibbs' touchdowns will be ones that he breaks, maybe off of a screen pass, or maybe even just running a route, maybe even getting some red zone targets. And I still think he'll have a couple of rushing touchdowns that'll be above 20 or 30 yards. And this might sound like a little bit of a take that Lucas isn't going to like. I think Sam Laporta probably has like 3 or less. Just as a rookie.
You're giving him
just
3?
Just as a rookie.
Oh,
just as a rookie. And I'm not hating on Sam Laporta. I just don't think that he will get the usage this year. He will get nowhere near the usage of Amon-Ra St. Brown.
No.
I get what you're saying with like David Montgomery, because I think he's going to get a lot of the short yardage touches that Jamal Williams got last year. And I think he has a chance, David Montgomery, to get between 9 and 12. I just think this will be Amon-Ra St. Brown's year to really eat when it comes to touchdowns. Especially, I mean, you looked at that practice. What was it? 6 times he was targeted in the red zone and scored touchdowns in practice. I think they're going to make it more of a priority to feed Amon-Ra St. Brown in the red zone. So for those reasons, give me Amon-Ra St. Brown and Jahmyr Gibbs.
And let me address one thing before I get to you, Lucas. I just want to address Booner's point, because he's saying it's a lock for Laporta and Monty.
It is.
No, it's not. And I'll say it's a lock if you want to go Monty, but don't tell me Laporta is going to get more touches in the red zone than Amon-Ra St. Brown.
No, and I don't.
No, that's what Booner said. Laporta and Monty will get way more touches in the red zone than Amon-Ra St. Brown and Gibbs, though. No. Did you watch? If you were there at training camp yesterday, Booner, you would have saw in 10 red zone snaps with Laporta on the field, who caught 6 of them? Amon-Ra St. Brown. It's not like it's Laporta's season. He's going to go for 15 touchdowns. I think Laporta, realistically, if we're being realistic, not just Kool-Aid drinkers, he's good for 4 touchdowns this year. I think he'll get a couple. But, dude, to say it's a lock that Laporta, the only argument you have is David Montgomery. That's the only argument.
I agree, and that's the only argument you need. David Montgomery is going to be inside the 5. I think it would be idiotic for this team not to run David Montgomery through the tackles, because as the most broken tackles in the league besides Nick Chubb, he's one of the best after contact, and I think David Montgomery is good for 12 touchdowns. I think, again, I love Amon-Ra St. Brown, but I think he's good for about 8 touchdowns. I don't think he's going to go into double digits. I think maybe one day he will, but I just don't think when you have the tools around him, especially with David Montgomery, when you have opportunities to score and take less punches for Amon-Ra St. Brown, you know it's going to be efficient. David Montgomery's going to have 10 to 12 touchdowns. I think Sam Laporta has 4 to 5. That's 17 touchdowns. Jahmyr Gibbs, I think he's going to have around 6, 7 tops, just because when they get in the red zone.
Combined?
Yeah, 6, 7 combined. And then I think Amon-Ra is good for about 7, 8. So I think it's 50. I think it's going to be close, but David Montgomery is going to... It's not going to be 17 touchdowns like Jamal Williams, because to Jeff's point, DeAndre Swift wasn't there. But DeAndre Swift and Jamal Williams, they're both not as good as Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery. When you talk about inside the 5, I'm taking David Montgomery over Jamal Williams all the time. So, yes, less chances, but there's more talent with it.
And the other part you have to think about is how many times last season did Amon-Ra fall short on the 1-yard line?
There was a couple. The one against Washington.
Against the Bears.
The one against the Bears, and then one more.
You could probably bring up, and he even mentions it. It pissed him off that he was caught because Jamal would walk in and get a touchdown. You don't think Amon-Ra, and I want to address just a comment by Booner, he says Amon-Ra St. Brown has 5 and 6 touchdowns in the last 2 years. Are we saying he's going to jump to 10 this year? Yeah, I am. That's how it works.
It's not stupid to say. I'm giving more like 8.
Yeah, but my point is...
It's not dumb to say he's going to jump to 10 now.
No, because, the point I'm making is, especially the first 6 games, Amon-Ra is this offense, at least in the pass game. He's their number 1 option. He's their go-to guy. If you need someone to get open, it's going to be Amon-Ra St. Brown. And I think that translates also to the red zone. He's working on his deep route running ability. This is a guy I think is going to be more... prone or will get more touchdowns as his career goes on. I don't think he'll be a career 5-6 touchdowns a year guy. That's not what Amon-Ra is.
I mean, especially with Amon-Ra St. Brown, I think that there's a chance that 106, which he had last year, is actually, I would say, his floor moving forward for the next 5 years or so. I know that's a little bit lofty, but I think we all believe in Amon-Ra St. Brown. So with all of those receptions, especially given the fact that, and Lucas, you know this, every single play in football is designed at some point, if perfect, to go to the house. So I think that Amon-Ra St. Brown will just get so many more touches in the red zone. And some of those plays, especially with him adding more deep pass patterns to his route tree, I think he might have a couple this year that are maybe 40 plus. He might not have to just get the red zone targets. So yes, the progression this year, I think, is for Amon-Ra St. Brown to get more than 10. It wouldn't shock me at all, because Jared Goff too, Amon-Ra St. Brown is his safety blanket. I honestly think it's going to be an anomaly moving forward, a season where he has 5 and 6. I think he's going to be hovering around 8 to 12 for the next at least half decade.
And we shall see, and it's exciting to talk about, guys. And as always, we're going to go to break here and get into what's trending with Lucas. Lucas has some fire planned for us. Speaking of Laporta.
Yeah, we got Sammy coming.
Lucas went deep in his bag this morning and got some Laporta High School film. I can't wait to get to it. I'll tell you what, we'll go to break. Before we do that, though, I got to tell you about our friends over at Dispo, because, guys, we'll be there this Friday. It's going to be a blast.
We'll
the entire
there,
Morning Woodward Show crew, all of Woodward Sports, will be down there this Friday, July 28th, for all 4 of our shows. I'm telling you, it's all day. You got to restock on whatever you need to restock on. Come down to Dispo and Romeo. Come hang out with us. Brace yourselves for an unforgettable journey at the pinnacle of the cannabis experience, located on 100 Schaefer Drive, Romeo, Michigan. Pull up and re-up with us and Dispo. Dispo has over 12 locations, which you can see above me if you're watching, and their new location in Whitmore Lake is now open. If you're by there, go check that out as well. Dispo Dispensary, your local cannabis plug.
Since the dawn of moving people, Chevrolet has led the way. The world of transportation is changing. At Feldman Chevrolet, we are leading the charge forward. With every electric vehicle, every mile traveled, one Feldman at a time. The company that puts more Chevys on Michigan roads is now the #1 name for Chevy electric vehicles.
Big Boy Strawberry Fest has officially arrived, and we're here to show you the very best flavors of the season. Satisfy your sweet tooth with our deep-fried vanilla Oreos, strawberry hot fudge cake, and a slice of our classic strawberry pie. But that's not all. Cool off on a refreshing summer splash salad, or savor the flavors of our chicken Caesar wrap and strawberry bacon chicken wrap. And for breakfast lovers, don't miss out on our strawberry hotcakes or our mouth-watering red velvet waffle. Strawberry Fest is something for everyone. Celebrate the sweet season with us at Big Boy.
The sports marketing agency would not be who we are without great community partners like Higuera Health and Carol Zaniga.
It's an awesome opportunity to partner with your organization. Higuera Health is a comprehensive behavioral health organization. We serve children through older adults with mental health, substance use, and developmental disabilities across Western Wayne counties, and really excited to now be in downriver communities as well. Give us a call at 734-458-4601.
It's the Morning Woodward Show here on the Woodward Sports Network, and you know what time it is. Check the watch. It's time for What's Trending with Lucas. Lucas, what do you got for us?
Oh, it is, baby. And we've been talking about Sam Laporta all day and why I think and why we all think he's going to be a dog in the NFL. But this right here, it really puts the cherry on top of this man in high school. He wasn't no tight end. He was a wide receiver, and he wasn't just any wide receiver.
Oh, jeez.
He was Sam fucking Laporta. Look at these.
Dude, he's got it. The highlight reel. Committed to the University of Iowa.
Look at him.
Lucas, did you sneak in your high school film here? Or what? Dude, for whatever reason though, Laporta in space is a madman.
Dude, there's a couple on here that are just ridiculous. This route's just...
He cannot be tackled. Oh, look at that. Over the top. Give me that. High point the football. Yeah,
this one's dumb.
Yeah, you can't tackle him. You can't tackle him, man. It's crazy how much bigger he plays. Like, and look how fast he is. He plays bigger, he's faster, he's more athletic. Look at the route running. I mean,
quarterback's just giving him a chance.
Just give him a chance.
Just give him a chance. This one's pretty crazy.
Oh, Jesus, man. Look how much faster he is. Dude, that white safety sitting there like, yeah, this ain't it. This ain't it, boys. Switching to tennis. Oh, yeah, give him a chance to make a play. Yeah, you can't tackle him. You can't tackle him, man. That's his best trait.
Incoming, just Hall of Fame jacket. Yeah, there's more checks than there's unboxed checks. Or I don't know even what I'm saying right now, but this man is going to be so good. And this proves it right here. We talk about it all the time. We talk about Kirby Joseph on the defensive end. He used to play wide receiver. We're doing the same thing at tight end now. The Lions are getting it done. They have playmakers. I can't get enough of Sam Laporta, man.
I love this comment too, Jake, and it's very fair. He says, to be fair, if you look at a lot of NFL guys' high school tape, it looks like this. Yeah, no doubt.
Not NFL tight ends, though. Not Sam Laporta.
Yeah. Hey, Jake, we're talking about Laporta here, future Hall of Famer, according to Lucas.
Hey,
so,
Lucas, is Nicholas Duncan your burner? Kelsey and Laporta competing for that top spot this year.
Oh, geez.
Get it going.
All right.
But a guy who a lot of people, especially in the NFL Top 100 list, think will be competing for that top spot, Justin Fields. I don't know if you guys saw, but quarterback, Peyton Manning show on Netflix, they released their list of the quarterbacks they're going to be rolling out next year for season 2 is Josh Allen, Aaron Rodgers, and Daniel Jones.
Aaron Rodgers agreed?
Aaron Rodgers. So they got
agreed?
Daniel Jones, Aaron Rodgers, and Josh Allen. They asked Justin Fields, and this is what he had to say. He said, they actually did reach out, and I don't think I want to do it, just because I'd rather keep everything around here the way it is. So, do you think it is a good decision for Justin Fields to avoid picking or to avoid being on quarterback this year?
I guess it depends how you look at it. I think there's a part of this that, you know, if you feel like, hey, I can bring more attention to what we're doing in Chicago, I can bring more eyeballs to the Chicago Bears, there's that benefit to it. because nationally it will help out the Bears, because you understand when you watch things like, quarterback, and you watch Kirk Cousins, you watch Marcus Mariota, Patrick Mahomes, to a certain extent we already pay attention to, but you feel like you got a little more connection with these guys. Like you want to follow them. So for publicity, it's good for Justin Fields, but if he's a young quarterback, he has one thing on his mind, is winning games with the Bears, getting better. I actually like this. I think it's a very mature thing of Fields to do.
No, and the thing about Justin Fields is, if for those of you who don't remember, he was actually featured as a high school student on the Netflix documentary
that was a good
QB1.
show. I forgot about that.
It was a damn good show, and I thought that Justin Fields really carried himself and presented himself very, very well. And I was a fan of his in college. I'm a fan of his now, even though I don't think he should be ranked above Trevor Lawrence on that list. I've always had a soft spot for Justin Fields, so I don't think this is really anything to be worried about. Like, I'm sure Booner or Easy will be in the chat being like, this is why he's actually a tier 8 quarterback and can't play. I know it's coming, Booner. I wish he was here right now and to spew that kind of nonsense. But at the same time, to me, it just is what it is. It's not for everybody.
No.
Gotcha.
And
JB?
honestly, I'm just shocked, real quick, that Aaron Rodgers said yes, JB, because this is something he didn't want Hard Knocks, but he's cool with
Peyton went on McAfee's show and announced it yesterday.
I mean, his ego is so big. His ego is so big. He doesn't want a team show covering the team, but when they ask him, hey, we want to cover you and your stinky hair, Aaron Rodgers, he's like, yeah, hell yeah, you can come and cover me. I'm cool with that. I don't cover my team. I don't want nothing to do with that. But if you come cover me, I'm cool with that.
That is true, and that's probably why Hard Knocks isn't getting those Aaron Rodgers behind the scenes. We're following him all over the place because he wants it to be all about him on Netflix, as you can see now, and just, hey, this is my day-to-day grind. This is what I do. Forget about the team. This is all about me.
This is what makes me
right
great.
here.
Oh, so Patrick Mahomes, Kirk Cousins, Marcus Mariota, Josh Allen, Daniel Jones, they're not selfish. It's not all about them. But when it's Aaron Rodgers, because you guys have Aaron Rodgers derangement syndrome, you're just like, see, this is actually why he's selfish. You guys were saying stuff like, he'll never agree to something like this, and now that he does, it's like, he's selfish if he does it, he's selfish if he doesn't. Damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Well,
get those hate goggles off, Jeff.
Well, I
Get 'em
guess
off.
the point I'm coming from is for quarterbacks or teams that were approached with Hard Knocks. The Jets were approached, Aaron Rodgers wanted nothing to do with it. But when they say, hey, can we get all in your personal space and film you personally? He's like, sure. Sounds like dude's got the... Yeah, that's all. I'm just saying it's the Hard Knocks angle in this, not just quarterback. But anyway, it is what it is. I'm surprised he said yes, I am.
One last thing. We'll get quick responses from this. I don't know if you guys saw yesterday, but Trayvon Diggs, he got extended 5 years. It says the Cowboys and two-time Pro Bowl quarterback are finalizing a 5-year, $97 million extension. So Jerry's throwing cash out there. He didn't want to re-sign Tony Pollard, but he wants to re-sign Trayvon Diggs. And Flannel, me and you share the same opinion about this. I just want real quick opinions on the Cowboys giving Trayvon Diggs a 5-year, $97 million extension.
God, I hate Trayvon Diggs. I hate his play style. I hate the fact that he got to be on an all-pro team in 2021 despite giving up 1,000 receiving yards when he was covering a receiver. I hate the fact that he gave up almost a 100 passer rating last year, but man, can he intercept that ball. I will tell you what, he is a damn good playmaker. He is a ball hawk, but he will give up twice as much by taking chances and giving up big plays. And like I said, we're never gonna address him as Trayvon Diggs until he improves. We are gonna address him as toast because he gets burnt all day long.
Yeah, that. And by the way, Jerry Jones paying for players. IBA. It is what what is it? It's Wednesday. The sky's blue. Like that's what we take away from Jerry Jones paying
for the wrong players. That's what his specialty is.
And that's what my part of it where I'd be hesitant is the numbers that Trevon's put up. It's elite, but when you look at its actual position, covering receivers, he got paid that money for doing a bad job.
That's going to get paid too, by the way. Zach Martin, the guy that has pretty much carried that offensive line outside of Tyron Smith and Travis Frederick, he's asking for money and you're not going to pay him. That's what blows my mind.
Yeah. I guess that's a more interesting angle to take from it. I think Trevon is a fine player. I think he's a little overrated because, again, he's given up 1,000 yards at least last season. So it is what it is. He got paid. Jerry Jones pays people left and right, but won't pay Zach Martin, arguably the best guard in the league. So there you go. All right. Move on.
That was it, guys. We'll be back tomorrow. I appreciate you. But, yeah, that was all for What's Trending with Lucas.
All right. Appreciate you, Lucas. Good job, man. We'll go to break. When we get back, we'll do mailbag. Get your questions ready for that. We'll get to them, whether me, Sam, JB, Lucas, any questions you have. We'll try to get to as many as we can. But before we get to break, Sam, can you tell everybody about Lady Jane's?
Absolutely.
Because I need a haircut.
Hey, where I go to get my fantastic haircut. If you want your hair to be looking as good as mine, Jeff Iafrate, you got to go right next door to Lady Jane's and walk into any Lady Jane's for an award-winning haircut experience and automatically enter for your chance to win not one, but 2 vehicles of your choice, courtesy of Les Stanford Buick GMC of Ferndale. That's right, 2 cars, one for you and one for your wife, girlfriend, or best bud. Lady Jane's open 7 days a week. Walk in anytime. It's wicked awesome.
Since the dawn of moving people, Chevrolet has led the way. The world of transportation is changing. At Feldman Chevrolet, we are leading the charge forward. With every electric vehicle, every mile traveled, one Feldman at a time. The company that puts more Chevys on Michigan roads is now the #1 name for Chevy electric vehicles.
Think you can play some golf? How about beating a professional athlete? It's the Woodward Sports Thursday Night Golf League live at 5 Iron Golf for 12 consecutive weeks. Featuring famous courses from around the world played on state-of-the-art TrackMan simulators and 5 Iron Golf's new 25,000 square foot facility in downtown Detroit. Can you beat Darren McCarty on hole 12 in Augusta National? I really wish I could. That would be amazing. What about outperforming Braylon Edwards on hole number 8 at Pebble Beach? Do you have what it takes? If so, register for your chance to win a free foursome today. Just follow us on Twitter and Instagram before August 1st and direct message the word golf. That is 5 Iron Golf.
And welcome back to the Morning Woodward Show here on the Woodward Sports Network. Before you guys leave and the show ends, don't forget, get your likes in, support the show. We very much appreciate it. We very much appreciate your presence joining us this morning. I want to get to some of these questions because people are already dropping them in the chat now. Public Enemy says, Jeff and Sam, what has Trevor Lawrence done to be considered better than Goff? And by the way, I think we can all agree Trevor Lawrence's trajectory is going up. Like we believe that he's a bad man, but he's not far off. If you're basing it off last season specifically, what makes him better? To be honest with you, I think it's more about projections right now. I think, and if you want to bring up his ability to take over games and be the reason they win games, fine. If you want to bring up that playoff game against the Chargers, I think that showed a lot of mental fortitude. I think for Trevor Lawrence's sake, you throw 4 interceptions in a game. For most quarterbacks, that's it. Like, you check out. For Trevor Lawrence to come back, and I know with the help of Brandon Staley's defense, or the lack thereof, but still, I think Trevor Lawrence gets a lot of credit for that, despite struggling. So I get it. Right now, it's, you can make an argument, but yeah, no doubt. I think everybody would agree Trevor Lawrence's trajectory is going to surpass Goff.
Yeah, I would say that last season, and I know it's more about projections, but I think last season, as much as a lot of people aren't going to like this, I think that's about what Jared Goff is at his ceiling. I think Trevor Lawrence's ceiling is second best quarterback in the NFL after Patrick Mahomes.
Of course.
Hey. That's fair right now, though. But yeah. I think at the end of the season, and this might be a little bit of a hot take, it wouldn't surprise me at all if Trevor Lawrence is in MVP conversations. And you've also seen with Jared Goff a lot of mid, especially when Todd Gurley fell off. Even those last couple of years with Sean McVay, pretty mid. And I'll tell you what, as much as 2021 I think was more Anthony Lynn's fault and what they had around him, Jared Goff looked bad then. Mm-hmm. And I know you guys are going to run to Urban Meyer and Trevor Lawrence and all that, but that was his rookie season. Take a look at Jared Goff's rookie season when Jeff Fisher was his coach. Pretty damn terrible. So I would say I get where you're coming from right now, but I would still right now say that Trevor Lawrence is better, and he will just continue to ascend.
Mailbag Noah says, can we stop saying it pisses us off to see Jamal Williams in the record books for us when we were all rooting for it last year? And Noah M., I'll say this. I think when you're in the season, when you're in the flesh, you root for things like that because by default, touchdowns help the Lions. They help the football team you root for and we talk about. But when it all settles down and the season's over and you really think about it and you're like, man, Jamal Williams is going to be in those record books until someone beats him.
How did we get here?
How did we get here?
How did we get here?
That's where the thought process is, Noah, because you're right. We rooted for it, but maybe we deserve this. It's just a little odd to me looking at, even if Jamal was re-signed, I would still be like, nah. Barry Sanders is the best running back in history, but he doesn't even have the most touchdowns in a season. It's confusing, but that's essentially why. I'm going to get to more of these questions because we got a lot coming in here. Let's see. And Broder says, Mailbag, better high school highlight tape from a Sam, Laporta, McGuffey, or Flannel. I mean,
wow.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I would like to see Flannel's high school film.
There isn't much. I was a very, very mediocre lineman.
What about this? Charles McLean says Mailbag Gibbs getting a lot of attention in talk shows, could be an offensive rookie of the year this year. And to kind of sum it up quickly, and Sam, I'll let you get to this too. I think he could be in the conversation, but we can agree Bijan's the favorite at this moment. It is typically a quarterback award for the most part, but guys, running backs have a supreme chance to win it. We'll see. I think for me, it's Bijan. I think Bryce Young can certainly be in that conversation, but I think Jameer, with again his ability in the passing game and the running game, yeah, I think he can make a case for himself. I just think a lot of it will be overshadowed by David Montgomery.
I mean, there's a lot of things that can be true. I think Jameer Gibbs will provide a lot to this offense. It will be a total yards merchant. I think he will be up there when it comes to receiving yards by running back as a rookie. But many things can be true, and this is a take that I think a lot of people aren't going to like, but when you really digest it, I think it'll make sense. Bijan Robinson will have more rushing yards this season than Jameer Gibbs will have all-purpose. Because I think Bijan Robinson leads the NFC in rushing his rookie season, has at least 1,400. And no, that is not crazy. It happens all the time. Guys like Zeke Elliott, guys like Todd Gurley, guys like Adrian Peterson, even guys like freaking Alfred Morris come in out of nowhere and have huge rookie seasons. Hey, he was a dog as a rookie, but that type of stuff happens all the time. Bijan Robinson, I think, should be the prohibitive favorite to win Offensive Rookie of the Year.
Let's see. And just to get to some more of these questions, Taylor says, Mailbag, a buddy and I wanted Goff, Tua, and Lawrence for this year on quarterback. What three would you pick? Goff, Tua, and Lawrence are a great three. I think for me, we kind of discussed this. Joe Burrow, we all agreed, I think would be a fun quarterback to cover. Jared Goff would be super interesting. And, of course, Tua would always be interesting. But I don't think Taylor's far off with that list, Goff, Tua, and Lawrence. I think it'd be interesting.
That would definitely be interesting. I think as Lions fans, we would obviously like to see Jared Goff and kind of how he goes about his day-to-day life. Thank you, Sheila. And I think a lot of us, I'm interested to see his relationship with his now fiance, Kristen, because we all kind of agree that she's a very fine-looking woman, and Jared Goff kind of seems a little bit, I don't know, howdy-doody at times. So I would like to see kind of how their dynamic is as well, and kind of what goes into what makes him the Detroit Lions quarterback, what makes him hopefully great this year.
And we'll end it here with this question. Because it's a very simple question. And again, guys, if we didn't get to your question, save them, because we try to get to the first questions in Mailbag. So you got to fire them off right away, and we'll try to get to as many as we can. We'll close it with this one. Jesse asked Mailbag, who has more yards receiving this year out of the three guys, Scary Terry, St. Brown, or Brandon Ayuk? I'm going to say St. Brown, but I wouldn't be shocked if Scary Terry got it.
It's going to be Amon-Ra St. Brown. I would say he has somewhere between like 1,400 and 1,500, and I think Terry McLaurin and Brandon Ayuk will hover around 1,100, 1,200.
Yeah,
they're all going to be very good.
And the usage.
Yeah,
you look at the quarterback they play for and the usage. Both those things go to Amon-Ra St. Brown. So I would agree there. And there you have it, guys. Again, we really do appreciate every single one of you. I mean, we can't say this enough, how blessed we are to have the audience we have. I mean, you guys are always showing love. You make the show fun. As much as me, Lucas, Sam, JB, Alex, we all love having fun with you guys in the morning. You guys make this show. So we want to thank you for that. Don't forget, hit the like button before you leave. Don't forget to subscribe. And as always, for tomorrow on a Thursday, we're going to have a packed show for you guys. You're going to want to be there for that. It's going to be a lot of fun. But until then, Jeff Iafrate, Sam Flannel, JB, Lucas Klotz, we thank you for listening. Until tomorrow.